Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Captain Coder here. We're back. Back with another day of adventure questing. Day 17. Day 17. We are making progress. Every day making a little bit more progress. Getting some elements in here. And our project is ever growing. If you want to get caught up with everything that's happened, we've streamed the last 16 days as well. You can find that there's a playlist for it if you want to watch all of it. I wouldn't recommend watching on normal speed. I'd recommend like hopping around in there, maybe trying to find specific things. But at the beginning and end of each video, I try to sort of do a summary of what happened. I don't know, I forget sometimes. But I would recommend trying, if you're trying to find a specific thing, going to the start or end of a video and seeing, what the sign off looked like or what the sign on looked like. And I should really start. Someone has asked me, I'm trying to follow this, I'm trying to find a specific spot. I need to come up. I need to in my someone could recommend a nice overlay for me. I want to add in some sort of information to my screen. I just don't know where to put it on the overlay as far as what our goals are or what our daily goals are. I need to do something where I have a big thing that shows up so people can find what that specific video was, or at least the goals of that video. And then at the end, I got to remember to put a thing in there that says, like, what did we actually accomplish? So sign on, sign off. I'm going to be a little bit more consistent about that. But let's take a look at what we have so far. Also, if you want to, and this is getting more and more outdated as we go because I haven't updated it. I got the first couple weeks ready for my class. I haven't updated it, but adventurequest.captaincoder.org. Eventually, this will have all of this stuff on it, but you can go out here if you're trying to, emulate what we're doing here, and you can find all of the chapters for this project that we're going to build out here. And right now it goes up to the character creator, and it has a little bit of the creating shop. We're going to add in like an equipment section and then a combat section as well. But we're making ever growing progress. So that's sort of where we're at with it. It's a little outdated, but I'd love some feedback. Love some more feedback. You can join the Discord, give me a little bit of feedback on there. It's always very helpful. So what are we working on today? Well, we have this giant ever-growing to-do list that we're never going to finish. We're going to do the best we can to get through it. What did we do last time? All right, we no longer need this, so I'm going to start chopping things off here and figure out what we're going to do on a choice. We ended up implementing using a callback system. So I'll let my activations, my extensions need to activate. I got to figure out what's going on with my markdown extensions. They're super slow. But once my keyboard starts responding here, we're gonna clean up some of these things and try and pick out what we're gonna do. Look at this interesting command markdown extension backspace key not found. It's fascinating to me that we've got such weird. Didn't used to be an issue. I don't know what changed that made this a problem. Consider redesign combat, provide a sense of urgency. Yeah, right now there's not a whole lot of urgency. Add traits, add total defense, implement audio system, combat expector. This would be really cool to add. That would be nice to have. Combat info output, done, we did that. An enemy type that influence the combat interface, we've done that. And a combat rounds timing system, we're working on this. This is what we're working on. Let's sort of move that up to the top. We have a flee condition here, but we should add in an additional victory defeat condition, right? We've implemented a very basic version of flee. Defend is going to get moved up here to the top. Oh, this extension's trying to help me. It's trying to help me. This one is sort of towards the top here. The defend thing is going to be a little bit harder, so we got to add sort of. I think I've decided the way we're going to do this. We're going to have sort of like buffs and debuffs, and when you use defend, it gives you like a defense buff. So there's going to be a buff effect that can be applied to an iCombatant. So you have a list of buffs. Moon is, this is not where I parked my car. That's okay. Where did you park your car? Did I steal your car? Is that a quote? Where's that from? I don't know. I don't know. I missed it. But, you know, you're always welcome to park your car here if you'd like to. I like to think of myself as a drive-in movie theater, right? Drive-in movie theater. You come, park yourself, you eat some popcorn, you maybe learn a little bit of something, but the goal is to have a good time. All right. So I think these are the big ones here that are sort of in line with here, but let's keep looking at our other to-dos that we weren't thinking are particularly related to the combat. Some of these aren't related to the combat system, but today I think today this is our big one. Implement defend, that's what I want to get done. So this is going to sort of take on, using a buff. It's a quote from Eurotrip, gotcha. I don't know if I've seen that one. That name sounds familiar, Eurotrip, but I don't think I've actually seen that movie. Using a buff debuff system on iCombatant. I think that's what we're gonna do, because defending shouldn't be permanent. Instead, it's gonna sort of be like an added buff. Okay. Shop needs to be serializable. I don't know if that's true. Character manifest becomes in removing argument. This is just like a nicety to have. iEquipable needs better deserialization. I could write an interface wrapper. We did this one, so I can get rid of that. This one would be really nice to have. Implementing a generalized character inspector editor. We did kind of do this as that. We created a iJSONable interface. Add hit points, other stats to characters. We did that with traits. All right, so I'm trying to trim down my to-do list here, because I know I've done quite a few of these and just haven't updated this list. So this is sort of what we're working on here, so I can take it off my big to-do list. Radar, welcome back, my friend. Happy Wednesday. Scotty doesn't know you have seen it. Anyway, how are you doing today? I'm doing very well, Mooniz. I'm so glad to have you back. It's so nice to have you here. Someone who knows actually what they're doing when they're talking about Unity encoding. Your advice has been superb and incredibly helpful. So thank you for that. Thank you for your participation on the Discord as well. I really, really appreciate it. Radar, it's so nice to see you. Safe travels, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you when you get back. That said, Muniz, I actually got my invite to Leonardo came through this morning. So I got on there this morning a little bit. So that I thought that was really funny. They heard me complaining. We have a forest on the town hub now. We do need an armor shop, healer, someone to restore hit points, potions, usable items. This is sort of a nice thing. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to create with. I played around with the button thing like for 2 seconds this morning. Do I even have that open still somewhere? I don't. Played around with potentially trying to add buttons with it. But my suspicions, I've essentially confirmed my suspicions on the Leonardo AI. They're absolutely losing. I'm like 100, like, let's go with not 100%, because 100% would mean I'm like absolutely sure, but I'm 97% sure that they are using OpenAI, because if you look at the OpenAI API for generating stuff, this is all of the same inputs to it that they have, but they have their own training model essentially. But yeah, I tried generating some buttons, and some of them came out great. I really liked these in general. I'd like to maybe zoom in a little bit more on those, but these ones would be nice too. So I did generate some buttons, did a really good job. I kind of want to give the same prompt to, let's do that real quick. Let's go to Dolly. Let's give Dolly the same prompt. I'm curious if what we'll see as far as the differences are. Let's log in here. Bobo, 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 bobo. All right. My internet will cooperate. How's the streamer? Is there buffering happening? Oh man, this is annoying. All right. I was gonna ask. It looks like right now let me do a check here. I usually restart my computer. I didn't restart my computer today to, let's see what happens here. All right. All right. I think we're back. The bitrate seems to be more stable. But we'll see. We'll see. Bio. Happy Wednesday, my friend. Welcome back. Welcome back. But yeah, I guess I got to do the ritual dance before I try to start streaming. I tried doing that yesterday, but we'll see if the bitrate's more stable this time. I have a technician coming out tomorrow. So no stream tomorrow. But hopefully the technician can solve all my problems. Seems unlikely. I'm hoping the technician. It's this darn upgrade. Oh wait, it looks like maybe I'm dropping frames again. Let's see if we can do. Yeah, I know it's lagging, Bio. We're trying to fix it, but that's okay. It depends. It depends on the database. Depends on the game. So there's a lot to unpack in that question. There's a lot, So that question is a giant, vague void of a question. Because it depends what database you're using, what's the game system, what is currency in that game. Is it a multiplayer game? Is it a single player game? Is where's the database? What are your requirements beyond that? Oh man, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. Yeah, we're gonna try. All right, we're gonna try one more thing. Hang on. All right. I think we're back. We had 3 minutes there, I think, with 0 drop frames. So I think we're good on my end. I think I'm good on my end. We're getting the green light on Twitch and YouTube. So I think we are stabilized. I think we're stabilized. Okay. So, we're gonna try. We're gonna try again. I should really start my day with the ritualistic streaming dance instead of waiting until I start until waiting until I start to do the dance. That said, I'm hoping to have. Well, I have a technician scheduled for tomorrow, so unfortunately no stream tomorrow. But I'm hoping that will solve a lot of the connection issues that I've been dealing with at the start of every stream, which is incredibly frustrating. Has been incredibly frustrating. I just spilled coffee on myself. That makes me sad. All right. So I'm a slob, as everyone knows. What database you use? It depends. Bio. There's a lot of choices here. I personally, am a big fan. So let me ask you: your game multiplayer, Bio? Is your game multiplayer? And what I'm a big fan of PostgreSQL, Postgres database. But that's not the only choice. Maria database is another good choice. Honestly, Microsoft SQL Server is not a terrible choice. It really depends on what your constraints are, what you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly, Muniz. It depends on what you're comfortable with, what database you use. So Bio's asking, anyone who missed it, which was probably everyone because it was sort of, the stream was dead at the time. Bio asked, do you know how to add add currency to a database of a game? Also, your stream is lagging. Yeah, so how do you add currency to a database? I'm a big fan of SQL databases. I think MongoDB, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, is a NoSQL database, which is fine. They're a little bit easier to use, but from what I understand, there's some scalability challenges with NoSQL. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad choice. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. MongoDB, I believe, is a NoSQL database. Just shut my door here. Sorry, stepping away. I've heard great things about MongoDB. That said, I've heard great things about MongoDB. It's just not something I'm super familiar with. I've done a lot of work with Microsoft SQL and Postgres. So those are the two that I'm comfortable with. You could also consider starting out using, I'm gonna say SQLite, but that might not. So for like local testing, SQLite should get you a lot of the same functionalities. Okay, so we're back. It seems we're back. Beautiful. I'm gonna start trying to do the ritualistic streaming dance ahead of time. In the future, no promises, but I will try. I will try to do the streaming dance before I go live next time. Right. And for anyone who's been hanging out with me this morning through my pain, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Firebase is good. I actually like. I'm not gonna say Firebase is good. I like using Firebase. It does sort of lock you into a spot. But yeah, Unity's plugin for Firebase is pretty easy to use. And Firebase in general is really easy to get started and use. It's what I use for my up until I think last year they added a new thing where you have to be 13 to use it, and because they have like analytics and stuff. I think you had to be 13 anyway, but they added some restrictions on student accounts. So before that, I would use it all the time. But yeah, I really think Firebase is a good starting platform. Firebase will get really expensive if it has a free tier. That's really nice. It does get really expensive as you start scaling up. In fact, fun fact, my where's I need a browser. My book is powered. So my Adventures in C# workbook, the whole back end is done in Firebase. And it was just like, I wanted to learn how to use Firebase to better understand it and also write an adapter for Blazor. And so I did the back end of this in Firebase, and it worked out really nicely. Firebase is no sequel. I'm just less familiar. Okay. Illuminati, hello. Welcome back, my friend. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. How are we doing today? I should how are you doing? Not how are we doing? Because, you know. But how are you doing today? Bio says, all right, I'm gonna use Firebase. Firebase is cool. I like Firebase. One thing, Bio, there is if you want it to be a WebGL based game, there's no WebGL support for Firebase. You have to do a bunch of extra stuff to get Firebase working with a WebGL build. But if it's not a WebGL build, no biggie. Their support for non-WebGL stuff is great. Let's do a sign-on. I'm glad to hear you're doing fine. Okay, so here we are. Gonna do a sign-on today. All right, so we just burned the first 30 minutes here, just trying to get the stream working. So we're gonna be a little bit shorter. I have I do have like a hard cutoff of like 9:15 my time. So it's 5:35. So that's a little under. So about 3 hours. Let's see where I get done in 3 hours. Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like it's your music, Bell. Let me get my sign on done here, and then we might listen to it. Well, definitely listen to it. Actually, let's see. Beep. No, there's no lyrics, right? No lyrics. Let's give it a shot. Ooh. Well, what were you going for with this one? This sounds like space. Like, to me, I go like space music. This sounds like background track for my space shooter. Ooh, I like this. Future house. I might, does this loop? Does this loop nicely? I'm gonna be making a 3D like space racing style game. If this loops, I would love to use this. Oh, it doesn't loop. Okay. If you could make a looping version of this, I would probably use it for something, because I like this a lot. Nice work. So anyone who doesn't know, Bio is our in-house over at Captain Coder's Academy. Bio is posting all sorts of good stuff. All right, very creative. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so let's get a sign on in here. I closed Discord. Let's get a sign on going. Nice work, my friend. Sign on. All right, so we're still working on our combat system. It's our primary goal. So the third project in my class. All right, good question. The third project in my class, I would like to make it a copy, like a sort of a clone of this game called Sky Roads that I used to play. All right, so it's not so that you can play a free version of it called Open Roads game. Here's a link to it. So I want to make a sort of clone of this game. So the first project is the text-based adventure. We're going to learn how to do stuff. The second game is going to be a 2D space game, like kind of like Asteroids a little bit. And then so no physics in the second one. And then this one, sorry about, I don't know why you got timed out there. And then this one is going to sort of be yeah, I had this on my 386, I believe. And so this one has very, very simple physics, but this is the third one that I want to have my students make a sort of a quote unquote clone of this game where they learn a little bit about physics. So you got that little bit of bouncing. When you crash into stuff, you need to detect how fast you're going, and then things like friction. So like if you're touching something, you actually slow down if you're driving into it. So the third game is going to be, or the third project, if we get that far, is going to be a 3D physics game like this. Yeah. I've played this game for hundreds of hours as well. probably hundreds of hours as a kid, but absolutely loved that game. So when I talk about a 3D space racer, that's what I'm referring to. That's the idea for our third project in the class. At the very least, we're going to do that one on here as well. Bio, I don't know why you got banned there. I apologize. I have no idea why you got timed out. When it lets you start chatting again, let me know. It won't let me see the messages it deleted either. I'm so sorry. Let's see here. Can I do a permit biotest 05? Biotest, let me know if that helped you get untimed out. And I tried to untime out you, Bio. I'm not sure if that worked, so I apologize for that. Oh, we were in the middle of a sign-on. All right, we're trying to collect our thoughts. We're implementing. Oh, okay. Thank you, Moodness. I'm so new. Unban biotest 05. Bio, let me know if that worked. Let me know if that worked. Primary goal, implement a combat system. So today, my main goal, really looking forward to, sorry about that, Bio. Oh, it was caps, yeah, so it doesn't let you do, it should let you do like 8 caps or something, but if the whole thing's in caps, you get in trouble. I'm sorry. I apologize for, on Night Stream Elements' behalf. Okay, so like 60% of your message can't be caps is I think the sort of what it is. And if you have more than 50 caps or something, it stops you. And so the goal there is just to, I don't know exactly. Maybe I should turn that off. It's sort of like a default setting that maybe I could turn off. But our primary goal today is we want to add defense or finish defense action, defend action in combat. All right, so our goal, Art, I don't know exactly what the settings are. I know it's there. If it's all caps, it'll be an issue. And I think if there's I think it has like a hard cap of 50 letters or something. So right now in combat, let's boot up a combat here. We have attack works. Defend doesn't really work. It just tells you, it just says you're defending, doesn't actually do anything. And flee is an option as well. Okay. So those are the 3 things we have. Inventory doesn't work yet, but defend, we sort of put a temporary hack in place at the end of last stream yesterday. And so I want to get defend working, and I've thought a little bit about how to do it. So I want to finish the defend action in combat, and to do it, I think we need to add in buffs and debuffs, or just sort of, you know, I'm going to call them buffs, but buffs can be positive or negative. And so finish defend action in combat, and I think the way we're going to do this is using a buff. So we're going to add a iBuff interface, and iCombatant has a list of iBuff that are applied. All right, so we're gonna have iBuffs on them. This is such a cozy look, makes you want to brew a pot of tea and calmly battle some fantasy monsters. Yeah, that's exactly right, Artie. Someone said, man, someone said, surely this can't be your combat. This surely can't be your combat scene. So I have a little thing here. Consider redesigning combat scene to provide a sense of urgency. Exactly. And so I think we're gonna add an iBuff interface. And iCombats have a list of buffs that are applied to them, and buffs sort of have like a number of rounds, that sort of thing to them. So at each round, it will like reduce how long that buff is attached to a person. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to trigger that, but we got to think through that. So that's my whole goal today, is get defense working. We have about 3 hours to work on it. And so I think that's enough time, but I'm gonna put a bonus here. Bonus, if we finish this. It is a strategy game, but ooh, that's important. Yeah, I don't know if I told you, like, I really want to implement this combat in the following way. I have this idea here. All right, let's go to our status screen. Um, so on our status screen, I have this really interesting idea. I'm probably not gonna do this. So we have like these different equipment slots. I kind of want to make it so that iCombatants have different targets on their body that you can attack. All right, so it's not just you click attack, you click it, you have to like select where you want to try and strike the enemy. And so there will be like humanoid. There'd be humanoid enemies, and that would be like your default one. And so you could attack arms. So arms are going to be harder to hit because they're smaller targets. Head might be hard to hit because dodging ability. Torso's the most easy to hit, but it's probably the most defendable. And so different enemies will have different targets, and you have to figure out, okay, which, based on the weapon I have, based on my strategy, how do I disable this enemy so I can get to them? So I have this idea that's again way scope creep, but I think that would be such a cool combat system to have that's turn-based, as you have different targets, and so different enemies can do things. Different enemies could be targeted in different ways depending on the type of character you're playing. So for example, if you're a rogue, you might have a back target that you try and get to, and so you might be able to somehow taunt the target, or just trick the target so you can get behind them and do like a backstab that'll do massive damage. But otherwise, getting to the back would be really challenging. So I think that would be a really cool system to implement. I don't know all the details, but it's just like what I'd call a pipe dream right now. So maybe someday we'll implement it. I think that'd be really cool though. So my bonus here. So I want to get defend action working. iBuff interface, and iCombat has a list of iBuffs that are applied. Bonus. All right, so my bonus is explore creating an iUsable. Yeah. Convince the giant spider to invest in a pyramid scheme. Exactly. Explore creating an iUsable for the inventory option in combat. All right, so that's sort of my bonus. We're gonna, if we finish this, we're gonna start looking at, well, how can we get inventory to be usable in combat? Right now, not so. Right now, there's just a button for inventory. Okay, sweet. Oh, all right. We are 45 minutes in, and we're starting. All right, let's get back to our combat scene here. And I want to get this defend. So let's look at what defend looks like so far. Okay, so defend. We have a defend action. And right now it's kind of dumb. All it does is it says so-and-so defends themselves. That's essentially all it does, with no results. So the idea here is it's going to add a buff to the player. All right, so I think in iCombatant, we need to have a list of buffs that they can have on them. And before we can actually have a list of buffs, we're going to have to create the idea of a buff. How does it apply to the user? So I'm going to create a new interface, namespace. I always start with an enter there. Namespace adventure quests dot combat public interface iBuff. All right, and just to recap, anyone who's not sure, an interface allows us to define sort of a contract that we want things to follow without providing any kind of actual implementation. So it lets you think about a little bit what it's going to be without providing an implementation to it, because different buffs are going to work differently. But essentially, this is kind of how I want it to last. So here's the idea: we're gonna have a public int duration. All right. So we're gonna have a number, the number of combat rounds It's a good question, Bio. Bio asks, how do I do it so every day it runs a function once? There's a couple ways you could do it. It depends. It depends. Like when you say a day, is it an in-game day or like a real day? Typically, you would do something like a cron job. So there's this idea of a cron job you would run. But we got the number of combat rounds. So this is full combat rounds. Number of full combat rounds that this buff remains active on the iCombatant. All right, this is how long it's gonna last. I'm gonna recommend for you, Bio. Typically, that would be something that you would run as your system in the backend cron job. I'm gonna recommend you look at. This is not exactly what I was hoping to find. What is a cron job? I don't know how helpful this will be at your current level. I'm not sure what your skill level is, but cron jobs are things that you can schedule to run on a regular thing. Exactly, Art. So, interfaces allow us to sort of, in typed languages. All right, so in typed languages like C#, Java, C++, you typically can't have homogeneous. Does it need for the app to run? No. So Biotest, a cron job would be something that you'd have your server set up to communicate with you'd have like a thing waiting and says run. You'd write the code that you want to run once a day in your program, and then you have a cron job that signals to the program to run that code every 24 hours, rather than having your program sit there ticking. Let's see, the number of full combat rounds that this buff remains active on the iCombatant. And then we want to have a public B-Dog show. Welcome aboard, my friend. Welcome aboard. Happy Wednesday. If you're new to the stream, which I think you might be, I'm Captain Coder. I'm a computer science teacher. Welcome aboard. Feel free to ask questions. That's why I'm here. I'm here to ask questions. I won't always answer your questions. I can't promise I'll answer them immediately, but I'll do my best. But welcome aboard. Happy to have you here. So we have a duration. Then we also want to be able to get a set. All right, so we need sort of like a set of. I got to think about this. I want to be able to affect a player's. So one way I could do this. I would, yeah. So if you want to ask a question and you want me to go over it on stream, if I get through my goals here, we're implementing a buff section. I'll do my best. I often answer programming questions on stream. So feel free to ask. A better place to ask, so I don't forget, would be on the Discord. Rave, my friend, good morning. Good morning, happy Wednesday. Yeah, so I have a stream, a Discord server you can ask questions on, and I will often answer questions on stream that have been asked there. All right, the number of full combat rounds that this buff remains active during combat. So one way I could do this would be add buff. All right, and this buff knows how to add itself to an iCombatant. All right, target. So I could write a method like this, and then I kind of need to have like a public void, remove buff. So I'm not sure if I like this so much as adding it directly to it and removing it directly to it, because then you have to sort of remember, okay, when this thing runs out, remove buff. Part of me wants to say, okay, maybe instead I should have a list of bonuses or something. So part of me wants to add in like a list, something called like modifiers. I think modifiers might be best. So like if this is in the list here, and so you're watching me design this here. Like, yeah, so this is essentially what I'm doing. So but I buff, well, so buff can be positive or negative. So a buff can be positive or negative. So maybe it should be called I effect. So buff covers positive and like both bonuses and the opposite of a bonus. I can't think of the name of that right now. It's some I've said it before, but yeah, buff and debuff are sort of the same thing. A debuff is just the opposite of a buff. So maybe I effect would be a better name. Detriment. There you go. Yeah. Detriment. Yeah, part of me doesn't like this. B-Dog, thank you so much for the follow. As always, feel free to try and boozle me, but don't try and bamboozle me. But welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Happy to have you here. Well, sometimes a buff could do both things, right? So let's imagine you have a spell. You have some kind of spell called like Yelp. So I'm thinking EverQuest. EverQuest has an ability called Yelp. It boosts your strength way up, but it lowers your speed, right? So you have an effect that does both of those things. Would that be called a buff or a debuff? So it's really just how the player refers to it. Maybe I should call it effect. We're gonna call it an effect. Just I think maybe I think people are right that buff feels like it is a like refers, you know, so communicating what a thing does is important. And so we're gonna change it to effect. All right. I think we've had enough people say, okay, well, buff and debuff sort of make it think so, but so we're gonna go with effect so it can encapsulate both of those. I think that's a better renaming. Good call. Thank you. So we'll go with I effect. Who said I effect? Rave said I effect. All right, Rave. Give you 50 points. 50 points. Thank you so much for the correct suggestion. I appreciate it. 50 points to Rave. All right, so we have a duration. I think I need one more thing that sort of says how it's applied, right? So what are the bonuses? No, please. Everyone knows that I'm totally fine with backseating here. Art, I'm totally open to code ideas. I get some of my best ideas from streamers. We're all about backseat coding, collaborative coding here. As long as the chat doesn't get too hectic, I can try and follow it. Ooh, all right. Mooniz going for points. Mooniz says we should do I combat effect. That makes sense. I combat effect. I actually like that better, Mooniz. All right, Mooniz wanting points. I don't know if Mooniz wanting points. Mooniz is being helpful. 50 points to Mooniz. All right, thank you very much. But yeah, Art, definitely feel free to post ideas, especially when I'm brainstorming here like this. I'm like, right now I'm going like, well, I don't know how I want this to work exactly. So we're doing sort of the design process together here. I think I need something like this. Part of me thinks I need something that says public, a public dictionary. So part of me feels like I need a way to get a dictionary that goes from ability to an int, ability modifiers. Right. Part of me feels like I need this sort of thing so that I can say, okay, let's get a list of ability modifiers. And so this might tell me that I need a class here. Modifiers. Ability modifiers. Oh, it's complaining that I didn't import this yet. Got to go over to this Exactly. So that's exactly, these are things that affect you in combat specifically. Gotta get this ability here. So the idea is this is gonna add these things to your abilities when you use it. Ability modifiers. Why is this complaining? Am I dumb? Cannot contain instance. Oh, this should be a get. Okay. All right, so you should be able to get ability modifiers, public dictionary, trait, int, trait modifiers. Okay, because right now we have like abilities and traits, and so we want to be able to apply this thing while it's active. And then, well, they will be responsible for keeping track of when it runs out. Yeah, so that's sort of what duration is going to be here, Art. So duration is like how much longer does this thing last, and when it reaches 0, it sort of gets removed. It'll get removed from the list. And my idea here, though, is so you can have a dictionary of abilities, and it says, okay, for this ability, we're going to add this effect. For the traits, we're going to add this effect. And then we might want to have some sort of, so like, imagine you have a regeneration effect. A regeneration effect would be like something that you apply. Okay, public void. We're gonna have a method called tick. Let me know if tick seems wrong. Tick, and so this is actually gonna take in an I character to apply. An I combatant to apply to. It's a terrible name. Someone give me a better name there. Oh, you want out, buddy? Hit the door for you. I love you. I love you. My dog decided I was being too loud. All right, so we have this list of ability modifiers, trait modifiers, and then a tick would be something that, like, if it has a regeneration effect or a poison effect, tick applies. Yeah. So our iCombatant, the idea here is our iCombatant is going to have a list of iCombat effects. All right. So every combatant's going to have a list of these effects, and then there's going to be like essentially a little bit of a default implementation that says in combat we have a thing that knows how to go through and apply those things. So we sort of have like our raw abilities, and then we'll also have our our modified abilities. So the idea is that we have combat effects. Code Rad Games, welcome aboard, my friend. So nice to see you. So nice to see you. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm about to get myself distracted here because I got to promote Code Red Games. I can't help myself. Rogue Blight. Evan, real quick, take a moment. If you like roguelike games, if you like soul-like games, if you like games that punish you and make you want to get good, then Rogue Blight is for you. Everyone, go click on this link. Do us a favor. Click on this link. Scroll down and add this to your wish list. Click that button. What does it hurt? What does it hurt? All right, Moon is if you already have it on your wish list, make a second Steam account. Go click that wish list button. You're asking what if you're already good? Well, you can get gooder. You got to get gooder. All right, but we're going to promote Rogue Blight here. Go check out Code Rad Games. While you're at it, I just gave Code Rad Games a shout out as well. There's a little heart on your screen in the chat right now. Make sure to click that button. Give Code Rad Games some love. Because this game is going to be, I'm telling you, this game is going to be one of the best games of the year when it comes out. Because I'm excited for this one. All right, but yeah, go give Code Red Games some love. Give Rogue Blight some love. All right. And let me say here, I'm not a sponsor. This is not a paid advertisement at all. This is coming from the deepest part of my heart to Code Red Games. Add Code Red Games and go click that wish list button. Go click it. You gotta know. You gotta know when it's coming out. All right. All right, Code Red Games, thank you for stopping by. It's so nice to have you aboard. But let's take a look here. We are trying to figure out how we're gonna do buffs in combat, so that way the defend button is gonna essentially add a buff to your character. To apply to is a bad name. So tick here. Adds this, ticks. I need a better name for this. Ticks tick is called during combat once per round when the character is activated. All right, so the idea is the tick is something that gets called every time this character gets a turn. The tick gets called on them. So this would be like a regeneration or a poison effect gets called during combat every time. Okay. This is our list of ability modifiers. So given an ability, how do we modify it to get the sum? Trait modifiers, how do we modify it to get the sum? So if we had like a stamina boost, this would increase our stamina total. This would, or hit point total, whatever it happens to be. All right, so I think conceptually, this is making sense to me. Let's see how we can apply it now. And we're gonna get some errors here. Let's comment this out real quick just to see if I have errors somewhere else. Get Unity to compile this for us. All right. Compile's fine. All right, so now we're gonna add this to our iCombatant here. And our iCombatant is all of our implementations are gonna fail now. So we've just modified the contract for an iCombatant to include a list of effects. And so our enemy and our player character are gonna have some errors. We have to say, how do we want this thing to be implemented? So I'm gonna come into my character here, my player character class, and I gotta add this in. And I think this is gonna be fairly simple here. I'm just gonna add in a getter. So we come down to my properties here. I'm gonna add it as a property. So I'm gonna come in here and we have a list of iCombat effects. We'll have to import our combat namespace, and we're just gonna call this effects. And it's gonna be this is gonna be a non-serialized thing. And I think it's gonna just essentially be a blank list to start out. Is this what we want? Yeah, I think that's all we need to do. So it is not, you can't set the list, but you can access the list and modify it. You can access the list to modify it. So our combat system will be able to put things into the list if we need to. All right, I think this is the easiest way to do it. And same with our enemy. Our enemy is gonna also have a list like this. Okay. Yeah, so this is gonna be sort of the same thing. I'm gonna add this list here to our enemy's properties. Like so. So by default, it's just an empty list. And the idea is in combat. Yeah. So in combat now, our iCombatant's gonna have some methods that will allow them to sort of get their modified values. Let me think about that. Let me think about that real quick. So I'm gonna add in a method here that is gonna allow us to get their scores with all of the effects applied to it. So I think I need to add in a here we go. So an iCombatant is going to have a method, public abilities, modified abilities. All right, so this is sort of like their ability scores with all of the effects applied to them. Modified abilities, and it's going to have a getter. And since it implements the the has abilities interface, the I has abilities, we can take that and generate a new abilities. So we're going to do abilities.builder. Okay, so we're going to create a builder here. So we're going to return a new set of abilities that is sort of the combination of all of the other ones. All right, I can't quite do this. I want to have a loop that goes through all of the different abilities. All right, so I'm going to have to do a loop here. So this thing's a builder. We're gonna get a builder, and then we have to, at the end of the day, we're gonna return the abilities that this thing generates. And we're gonna say for, let me think about this, for each, I almost need a prototype pattern here. I almost need a prototype pattern. It might be really nice in our abilities class to, all right, so we have this abilities class, and this maps our ability to like the ability score. This might be a good place to use the prototype pattern. All right, so prototype pattern allows you to sort of copy an object with some modifications to it. And so it might make sense, and I think it does make sense, to add in a method here. Yeah, we're gonna add a method that returns, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a method, abilities, with modifiers. All right, so we're gonna have a thing here called abilities with modifiers. And this is gonna take the set of abilities and return a copy with the modifiers of those abilities. So the simple, so it's going to look kind of like this. It's going to look kind of like this. I'll no longer need modified abilities. Instead, I can get the abilities off the combatant call with modifiers and pass in a list of combat effects. Is this what I want to do? I think this might be an extension. iCombat effect to apply. We'll put it here for now. But I think this should be a static method that's part of iCombatant. All right. Yes, this is going to be a static method. It's hard to be a static method because I want to be able to access our private fields. That's why we want it here. We have access to the private things here. So with modifiers. Yeah, so with modifiers. This is sort of, that's why we're using the prototype. So we want to clone this thing. Okay, so with modifiers. And so we are going to essentially, so we have this private constructor for our abilities. You can only make it with the builder. We're going to take, we're going to take, Perfect. This is nice. Then we don't have to do a bunch of cloning and expensive operations. We're going to take this dictionary here, and we're basically going to copy it. All right. So we're going to create a new dictionary. In fact, we're going to create a list of ability scores. That's what we need to construct this thing. So we're going to have a list of ability scores, modified scores, like this. B-Dog, go ahead and ask your random question. Have our modified scores. And we're going to clone all of the scores out of this. And then also, if our toApply happens to have those, we're going to add them. So we're going to say for each ability score, score in abilities dot values. So we're going to go through all of the values in our dictionary here. So this contains all of our scores. Let's see. B-Dog Show says, is there a way to modify VS Code so the taskbar is on the right? I don't know why I'm picky. When you say taskbar, do you mean this thing down here, or I'm not sure what this taskbar? Can we drag it over there? I'm not sure. This is what I call a taskbar, or maybe the top. I'm not sure what exactly the question. Sorry to get distracted. All right, we're gonna do the prototype here with modifiers. We're going to generate a list. We're going to loop through all of our existing ability scores. We're going to add them in here, but we're going to modify them. We're going to create a new ability score that is the modified version of it. So we're going to say modified scores dot add. So we want to add a new one. I'm going to add a new one here. And it's going to be a new ability score. And it's essentially going to be kind of a clone of the other one. So it's going to be score dot ability, and then score dot score plus, we need to see whether or not there's a bonus int modifier. Okay, so we're going to copy it and we get the modifier, and the modifier is going to be based on the toApply here. Oh, we have to go through all of our combat effects to do this. Interesting. It's a little bit trickier than I wanted it to be here. So each one of these combat effects. Okay. I want a method that gives me all of the sort of a sum of all of the combat effects together. So I need to go through all of my scores, and I need to go through all of my effects and build up the scores and then add those in. So we're gonna do a sloppy method, then we're gonna refactor to be a little bit nicer. Mooniz, thank you so much for helping out B-Dog there. I appreciate it. B-Dog appreciates it. Have yourself some points for being so helpful. Thank you very much. So the first thing I need to do is I actually need to get, if we have a list of combat effects coming in, I need to know the sum of all those modifiers. So if we have a bunch of different things that modify strength, what's the total sum of those together? All right, so I actually need to know, so I'm gonna actually start by creating a dictionary. All right, that is from our ability to our int, and it's gonna be like our modifiers. Okay, and let's start. I need to know the total sum of those together. So if we look at combat effect, our combat effect has a dictionary from an ability to an int. We need to get the sum of all of the combat effects together for all of the abilities. And so we're gonna loop through our I lost it here. We're gonna loop through all of our combat effects and build up this dictionary. Okay, so we say for each iCombat effect effect in toApply, and we're gonna just add these things in here. So my modifiers needs to have, you know, those things set. And so we're going to do the following. We're going to do modifiers at effect dot and then we need to loop through. Okay, then for each. This is a little tricky. So every effect has a dictionary. We're sort of summing all these dictionaries together. So there's a key pair value from ability to int on each effect modifier in effect dot ability modifiers. So there's sort of this gross nested loop here. I don't know if it's gross, but it feels gross. I'm what you might call a never nester. I don't know if anyone's ever heard this term, but never nesters are people who don't like to nest their code because it makes it hard to read. All right, so we need to go through this. And so I'm probably going to try and refactor this in a little bit of a nicer way here. So we go through our key value pairs. So our modifier here. And the idea is we're going to sum all these up and say modifiers for our modifier dot key plus equals the modifier dot value. So we're going to loop through all of the modifiers in our effect, and we're going to add them. We're going to add them to our overall modifiers here. So this sort of sums them up. So this feels like a dictionary extension in some ways. And there's one little thing here. Does anyone see the bug I have? There's a pretty nasty bug here that I have on this line. If there's a bug I have, does anyone see it? I'm missing something here, right? I'm missing something with my modifiers. Art's never heard the never nester. I didn't make that term up. I don't remember I heard. I think there was a YouTube video talking about it. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah, so there's a little bug here, right here. So the compiler will be happy to compile and run, but there is essentially an index out of bounds style exception. It's going to say that, well, there's no value here yet for our modifier dot key. So we sort of need to say, we need to have a default value here. And is there a built-in dictionary with default values? C#, dictionary with default values. Is there a dictionary with default values? I guess not. Some languages have sort of like a default dictionary that says like, oh, well, you can say like, okay, if the key doesn't exist, we're gonna go ahead and initialize that. But what we have to do here is we have to say, okay, if modifiers dot doesn't have this key. If modifiers doesn't have this key, and the modifier here is our modifier dot key, then we have to give it a default value. And so then we're gonna do modifier of modifier dot key. We're gonna set it to 1. So this would be one way to do it. Sorry. We're gonna set it to modifier dot value. Else we're gonna accumulate it. We're gonna add it in there. Look at how nasty that nesting is. I'm 3 layers deep. That's about it. All right, so 3 layers deep is about as far as I think I'm allowed to go. But it's a little hard to code. Linus Torvald says you should set your tab width to 8 characters so that way you can hate yourself if there's too many nestings. What is the Linus Torvalds code? Linus Torvalds nesting quote. If you need more than 3 levels of indentation, you're screwed. If you need 3 levels of indentation, you're screwed anyway. You should fix your program. It's a dream within a dream. Yeah, so take that with a grain of salt. Linus Torvalds, very opinionated. I think a lot of programmers are very opinionated. Biotest asks, sorry I missed it a little bit back there. Biotest asks, does PlayFab have databases? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what PlayFab is. So I apologize. I don't know. If anyone knows if PlayFab has tests, See if you can help biotest out there. All right, but we have this trip. If we need more than 3, all right. So technically, we're Linus Torvald to say you're okay. You only have 3. You only have 3. All right. So given a combat effect to apply, we come in here and we do this. We have to loop through all of them. Moon is, I'm a coder, and I can confirm I have opinions. Most coders have strong opinions. All right, so this is going to build up our thing here, and really, I should have an effect. I think I want to move this elsewhere, and in fact, I think if I put it in combat effect, it makes the most sense here, right? To have, can I put static methods here? Static dictionary of ability to int, and we're gonna call this ability. Naming is hard. Ability. Someone give me a better name here for this method. Essentially, we're gonna do this thing here. We're taking a list of iCombat effects, and we're gonna sum it up. I lost it here. My abilities. We're gonna hide this. We're gonna hide this because we don't like looking at all the nesting. And this should be effects. Art says, remind me to show you my level compiler sometime. That's not a nest, but a tangle. It's not a nest, but a tangle. Look. One of my favorite, I always tell people, one of my favorite foods is spaghetti. Right? I love me some spaghetti. Programmers give spaghetti such a bad name. What's wrong with spaghetti? All right, so the idea here is I'm going to take in a list of effects. I'm going to get them together. Ability, accumulate, so someone give me a good name here for this function that takes in a list of effects and combines together all of their ability modifiers. Ability modifiers, modifier sum. I don't know exactly what to do here. Ability modifier sum. I hate this name. Someone help me. Someone make my life better, because I hate this. All right, so, but now with modifiers, I can do this thing where I go to my iCombat effect, and I can sum together these things. Mod merger, something like that. Ability combiney dinier. Beautiful. All right, it's sort of yeah, mod merger, ability combiney dinier, not so good. Mod merger seems not as good. Ability modifier sum. Yeah, I don't. So no offense, Art. I don't like either of these. I don't. So, and let me start by saying I hate my name too. I hate the name I have here as well. All right, but we're gonna be able to get that sum, and so now we've renewed. We've offset. We've pushed that logic elsewhere, and ideally you'd have a nice little summary comment here. Here, let's see if we can get OpenAI to write my comment for me. OpenAI. Because this one feels like it needs some documentation. One sec, gotta log in here. Let's see if we can offload my documentation writing a little bit here. One of my favorite uses of OpenAI. All right, we're secure, we're in. All right, let's go here. Write XML documentation. For the method, for the C# method. All right, let's try that. Calculate the sum of all ability monitors from the given list of effects. Perfect. Boom. Calculates the sum of all ability modifiers from the given list of effects, a list of icon effects to be used in the calculation, a dictionary of abilities and int values representing the sum of all ability modifiers. Beautiful, easy generation. So now when I use this thing, someone comes in, well, what's the heck is this thing doing? Gives them a nice little comment. So they go, oh, okay, this is a sum of those things. I don't understand your question, but you're saying, why is there Linux here? Also change model to code. I guess I don't understand your suggestion. I apologize for not understanding. I think I'm missing some context. Okay. Now we have an issue. All right, so int modifier is going to be the following. We're going to say modifiers dot contains key score. So if it contains the score, we're going to be modifiers of score dot ability. Score dot ability. Otherwise, will be 0. Contains key. There's some inefficiency here. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of disliking my code here. It smells a little gnarly. But we get the modified scores now. Right. So we're going to have a list of ability scores, and then we're going to return a new abilities with our modifier scores. All right. So now we have a way to get all of our abilities modified here. Oh, there was something about Linux and Google when I was Googling. OpenAI model of the text that needs to be changed to code, but that can do. Oh, it was part of the doc. Calculates the sum. Gotcha. Well, this is going to work out all right for us. I think we're okay here. All right, so I've written this with modifiers. And I could make this a static method as well. Part of me feels like it might make sense as a static method, where you take in abilities and it does it. But this is gonna make a copy. So we'll add in a documentation. Creates a copy of this set of yes, absolutely, Art. Let me give you permission real quick. Permit Art. All right, go ahead. I think you're safe from Stream Elements. Thank you for sharing that. We'll check it out in just a moment. Create a copy of this set of abilities with the list of iCombat effect applied. Like that. All right, let's check it out. Woo! All right. There's a few things I'm noticing here. All right, there's a few things that, wow. Well, we need to put, Twitch has a, I'm probably gonna get banned from Twitch just for showing this horrific picture. I should have checked that off screen before opening it here. Yeah, we're gonna get a Twitch ban for showing something so graphic on this live on the stream. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Art, for sharing. Beautiful. Look. We have all been there. What I'm going to say is there is no programmer that hasn't written code that looks like that, and sometimes it's just to get it done. Did someone show some JavaScript? No, Rave. We got up above. Feel free to click on Art's link there to see some of the most beautiful code ever written. It's C++. Yeah, it was C++. All right, so we have this with modifiers. Okay, so let's come back over to our effects here. The idea the idea is to be able to get, so our iCombatant, we're going to have a implemented method here, a default method that's going to say combatant abilities. We're just gonna, this is a helper method because there are things that can get us here, but one thing we want to do in abilities is combat abilities. And this is basically going to take our character, our iCombatant, and it's going to be this dot abilities dot with modifiers this dot effects. So we've created this default implementation that lets us get our combat abilities. So we just say combat abilities, and it's a nice little helper method that performs this operation on our behalf. Pretty straightforward. All right. So now in combat, let's go to combat manager. Go to our combat manager. We have in our combat manager, rather than rolling on just the raw player abilities, we're going to do .combat abilities. Okay, so anytime we roll during combat, we should be using combat abilities because that's sort of like our modification, our modified scores. Muniz, you're absolutely right. Sometimes that is actually the cleanest way to code things. It's just you should, when you're doing that, it's a sign that that you should really be clear about what you're doing. Absolutely. It's just a little scary. There are times when you can write code that looks that way, though. Especially like you're saying, if you're working with 3D arrays, you're gonna be triply nested somewhere. Okay. Combat abilities. So what am I doing here? Oh, I need to create a defense buff. All right, so yeah. So our defend action. Beautiful. Here we go. So in combat, when we initialize combat, what I'm going to do is during the combat initialization, we're going to clear out enemy dot effects dot clear, player dot effects dot clear. This method's getting pretty long too, so I'm not sure. I want to redo this, but we're gonna, at the beginning of combat, you clear out the enemy and player effects. And this will probably have a method that's sort of like on start. So if you have some item that gives you an effect at the beginning, we need to know about that, but we don't have that yet. So for now, we're gonna put this sort of clear thing here. So we'll put a to do. Consider writing a method on iCombatant called initialize. All right, so might make sense to have an initialize for combat method that allows you to specify how it's going to initialize. So for example, for an enemy, they might start with a regeneration effect. For the player, you might look through all of their equipment and apply any equipment that has like a buff that comes with it right at the beginning. But for now, we're going to clear it out, and we're going to put this little note here that says, well, we're not done. We're sort of prototype. So we have this clear here. All right. So now what we can do, though, is at the start. Yeah, so in our defend action and our attack action need to be updated. All right, so our attack action, we have this attack, and attack shouldn't use abilities. Instead, it's going to use combat abilities. All right, so all of our rolls are going to be based on our combat abilities rather than the raw abilities, and we can calculate the combat abilities this way. All right, so we need to go through and change each one of these spots to combat abilities. So did we have abilities? Abilities. All right, so we looking good. So now when we attack, it's going to use the player's, the iCombatant's combat abilities, which we can now, when we do a defend, we can buff them up. We can buff them up. All right, so in our defend action, the act of doing a defend is going to add a defense buff to the player if they don't have one already. And if they do have the defend action buff, it's going to sort of refresh it. So that's the idea. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to create a new, I feel like we're getting a lot of files here in this one combat folder. So we're going to need to do some organization in a minute, but I'm going to add in a defend, defend buff. So this is the effect that happens when you actually do the defend. So we're going to see if we can implement this. Namespace adventure quest dot combat public class defend buff, and this is going to implement our eye effect. Thanks for that name, Ray. And we're gonna get. You need to compile this for us. All right. So as we said before, an interface is sort of a contract saying that if you want to be an eye effect, there's a set of requirements that you need. Where did I put eye effect? Oh, eye combat effect. All right. Eye combat effect. And so we can have our VS Code sort of generate. So we're saying if you want to be a combat effect, you have to have these things. These are things that you have to provide. And, so not too bad. And this allows us, if we have different types of combat effects, we follow this contract and we get it to do what's called dynamic dispatch at runtime. So our code in our eye combat effect here, this code doesn't care that I am a defend buff or an attack buff or a poison debuff. It doesn't care. All it cares is like, oh, you have the right things. You look similar enough to something else that I know how to sum you up together. It doesn't care. So this is at runtime, it sort of decides what the values are based on your implemented class versus what your contract says. Sometimes called dependency injection as well. So we have a defend buff here. So our defend buff is going to have a duration. How long should our defense buff last? I think it's going to last. There's some more things I want to sort of immediately apply as well. We're going to have it last 2 rounds. So you can defend and then you're like kind of safe a little bit for a round. Maybe it'll last 1 round. All right. Let me think here. All right, so I need to create a constructor. Public defend buff. All right, so the defend buff. I'm gonna make it take no parameters for now. But I am gonna create. It has no trait modifiers, but it does have ability modifiers. So, it actually. This is interesting because my defense is neither an ability modifier or a trait modifier. So my whole purpose here is interesting because in my iCombatant I have this defense. So traits are values that can like move up or down. Defense isn't a trait. It's actually just like a raw value. So this is interesting. Interesting. I didn't even think about this. I was thinking it would increase your defense value so you absorb more damage. It doesn't actually make you faster or able to defend more. I didn't even think about that. Wrote myself sort of into a wall kind of here. Not too bad. There was let me think. When we defend, this is going to last 1 round. So we get this effect for 1 round. Yeah, I did, Rabe. I actually bought it. It's good. It's pretty good. Thank you for the share. Thank you for the share there. Yeah, I actually got a copy of it. It looks pretty good. I think I might be able to get a second copy of it too, and I might put a copy of it in the store. I was thinking about putting a copy in the store for people to acquire if they'd like to. The duration is going to be 1. This sort of needs to be a, yeah. Needs to get a get private set and be equal to 1. And then when we tick, duration decreases. So when we tick, the duration goes down. All right. I wish, so one thing I was hoping, so I bought it to see, sometimes the Humble Bundles come with like different redeemable keys in it, and I was hoping to come with a set of redeemable keys and I could post various different components of it in the store, but the individual pieces weren't redeemable. It was just like one big package. Yeah, it's a ton of good stuff. Oh, our default duration is 1. So when we defend, we get defense buff for 1 round. Defend buff is going to increase our agility. All right, so it'll increase our agility. And then I also want it to give us a defense buff. So let's come into our... This is really, really... So we have an eye effect here. Public int defense bonus. Like this. And we also need something similar to this bonus, this here. All right, so we're gonna have a public static int total defense bonus. List of iCombat effects and effects dot sum. I gotta import link. Thank you so much, Art. One real quick before you go, let me give you a shout out. Art is working. Oh, wrong thing here. Shout out, Art. Art is working on a custom engine. He's building, has a great stream, by the way. Take a moment real quick. Everyone, real quick, take a look at your chat. Click that heart button. Give Art some love. Go check out Art's stream. Art is building a swords and sorcery themed first-person FPS game. So first-person game in the spirit of Heretic, Hexen. He's built his own custom 3D engine. It's awesome. It's awesome. Go check it out. I'm super excited for it. But give him some love. Hit that follow button. Go check him out. Thank you so much for hanging out, Art. Have a beautiful day. As always, you're welcome back anytime. Take care. Moon is followed about 30 minutes ago. Moon is on top of it. All right, so we were going to have effects.sum. And specifically, it's going to be an effect e.defense bonus. So we're going to sum up all of those. All right, so we're going to get our total defense bonus. And then in our iCombat, we need a similar thing here that says combat defense. And this is going to be iCombat effect dot total defense bonus effects. All right, these are, oh, this should be an int like this. Okay. So now in combat, we're able to give an effects bonus. All right, I'm smelling that I want some default values for this. Our defense bonus, we're gonna have a +5 defense. Ooh, maybe the defense bonus should be based off of our agility or something like that. But for now, I'll do a 5 defense bonus. Something that is really, really annoying here. Notice I have to implement all of these things in my subclass. Instead, I'm going to come up to my iCombat effect. And I'm going to make these virtuals. And I'm going to give them a default value, I think. That's really, really frustrating that I have to. Must declare, okay, have to declare a body. Okay, so our default defense bonus. Cool. Our default defense bonus is going to return 0. So we're going to add some defaults to these. Virtual. Can I do like this? Perfect. All right, so our defaults for these are going to be just sort of empty things. So now I only have to override. I only have to implement the ones that are specific to me. All right. So I have an interface that has a default implementation of these. And so in my subclass for my defend buff, I only have to implement the ones that are specifically different than the default. Let's build this real quick. All right. And so I shouldn't have to, there's no trait modifiers for defense. The defense bonus, do I do an override here? This is interesting. I've never done this quite this way. Defense bonus, not suitable for found for that. Yeah, it's really nice. Checks party. It makes it nice because I know I don't necessarily want an abstract class to do it. Oh, I have to make these. Did I make them virtual? I did. Yeah, so these are sort of virtual extensions. I think I could be wrong. I might be, if I make something virtual in an interface, yeah. Exactly, you just leave it out completely and it'll use the defaults. Okay, so we have in our defend buff. Excuse me. Excuse me. And the one thing that isn't our buff, I also want to give it a name here. iCombat effect. Let's also add in a public string name. So we're gonna have to implement these things. All right, so this one's gonna be public string name defending. All right, so we have a buff of 1. It's gonna give us, for now I'm just going with, all it does is give us a defense bonus. And I can also make it so that our default tick, all right, so this, I'm getting a lot of things open here. Let's close other things. Let's go back to my I effect. My default, do a protected, can I do a protected set? I can, okay. So our default here for duration is gonna be duration minus minus. So for by default, we just do duration minus minus. And now I don't need to have this subclass here, I think. Let's see what this is complaining about. Let's go build. And we're coming up here. I've been going for almost 2 hours, so I'm gonna have to take a break here in a minute, get some new coffee. I've been out of coffee for a while. And I'm also out of water, so I'm getting a little thirsty. Chex asks, what can I do with the points you gave me yesterday? So I have, let's see. We have a little shop. So I have a bunch of stuff that I'm not using. All right, so we have a little store here. And this is essentially stuff I've left over on Humble Bundle that I'm not using. So if you want a copy of Doom Eternal, You can get it. We got some games in here that are part of Humble Bundles that I don't have, so I have redemption keys for those. I also have the C#.net Ultimate Bundle, a Learn Unity Game Development Bundle. You can ask me if for 3,000 points. You can ask me to show off a game that's on my game shelf. You can also talk to Dusty. Dusty's my dog. So that's what we can do right now. But there's a little shop. That's my little shop there. You can use those points. Just a nice little reward for people coming in and hanging out with me. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, so that's what you can do with your points checks. Yeah, so it's stuff that I'm not using anyway, is sort of how I feel about it. So why not share that love? That said, I limited quantities on pretty much everything because it's a redemption key. But yeah, I just want people to know that I'm not spending, not emulate duration dot set. Okay. Oh, this should be a protected set. Radar, welcome back, my friend. Big baller, hello. Welcome aboard. We are making some progress here. So it's not public. Yeah, it shouldn't be public. Should be protected. It's I think it's good. Defend here, let's see what happens if I drop this. What do I code in? That's a good question. Remaining. All right, here we go. Get do public like this. And this should be protected. There we go. Oh no, it doesn't like that. Interesting. It's a good question, Raider. I program in a lot of languages. C#'s like a language that I'm really into right now. I've done a lot of programming in dozens of languages. I'm very familiar with Java. I worked at a company where Python was like our big language. So I worked in Python professionally for 4 years. I've done a lot of web development stuff too. So JavaScript, TypeScript. My favorite programming language is Haskell, although I'm a bit rusty on it. I think sometimes a better question is, what, essentially I've been exposed to, I'd say at least 25 languages. As far as like writing something non-trivial in them. That said, right now I mostly am doing C# stuff. The classes, so let's see, what am I teaching this term? I'm teaching intro to C#. So I'm teaching intro to C#. I'm teaching Unity. So those are both C# classes. I am also teaching a class called Intro to Competitive Programming. And so in that class, students are allowed to pick whatever language they want. I have students doing C++, Python, JavaScript, and C# in that class. So I'm familiar with all of those. French. I'm teaching an Intro to Web Development class. So that's HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then I'm teaching a class called Introduction to Interactive Fiction. And we're using a version of a programming language called Scheme. Yeah. So I'm familiar with a lot. I would say I'm not particularly good at C++. I've not used C++ to any extent, but I know enough to help my students. I know enough about like object-oriented programming to help students who are doing it. I think I would love to take some time to like dig into Unreal Engine or something to learn C++ better. This is fascinating to me. And if I do default as 1. All right, so under the hood, private int duration with a 1. All right, we're gonna have get be duration. Yeah, I'm teaching 5 classes this term. And this is gonna be duration equals value. Okay. But good question. I'm happy to answer that. Yeah, I do a lot of programming. Trying to get this put in so So the defend buff here has a duration or a defense bonus. Okay, so now during our attack, so this would be an I combatant. We have this default attack, defense. All right, rather than doing our defense, this is our combat defense. All right, combat defense. Yeah, so I will say the languages I have used in industry are Java, Python, and a lot of TypeScript. So in industry, those are the 3 languages I've used a lot. And then I did a bunch of freelancing stuff. It's not something I'm not, well, I am kind of proud of my freelance work, but PHP. I've done a ton of programming in PHP. Definitely not my favorite language by any means. All right, so we're gonna have our combat defense there, like that. Excellent, excellent. So tick. All right, I like it. I like it. Let's put snare. So I think our defense buff, we can create a defense buff. The one thing we want to do though is in our player, in our defend action. All right, in our defend action, the simple thing to do would be result dot, not result, defender dot combat effects dot add new defend buff. So we can add this defend buff to the defender now. Yeah, so I've been programming for I think 20. I think I looked at it the other day. 27 years. I always say over 20, like for more than 25 years. I've been programming professionally, quote unquote professionally. I've been doing it for like being hired to do it since I was 16. So like my first paid gig as a web developer was when I was 16. And then my first like salaried position was when I was like in college. I worked at my undergrad. I got hired by the Department of what was it called? I can't remember the name of the department. It's like Research and Integrity or something like that. So I was like a software engineer for them for several years while I was still in school. And then I've worked at some big not corporations, some big places as well. Oh man, when I was in undergrad, we did stuff. Their website was built using Cold Fusion. I forgot about that. Cold Fusion was a crazy thing. So we're gonna add this defense buff, but we're only gonna add it if the player doesn't already have it. We're gonna say if, it's gonna be a little bit slow. We only add a defend buff if they don't already have it. Checks, am I the first programmer in my family? In my immediate family, yeah, my immediate family. My uncle's a programmer. Or I say my uncle's no longer living, but my uncle was a programmer. But I'm the first programmer in my family, yeah. My dad's done some programming, but it was sort of because I was into programming. So it was like my dad saw what I was doing, was super excited about it. So he's done a little bit of programming, but he's not I wouldn't call him a programmer. So he hasn't done any sort of studying or anything. He's made some games, which is cool. But you know, if you went and talked to him, he wouldn't be able to tell you how to write a for loop, right? But he's written for loops because he's done programming, but you couldn't ask him how to write one. Defender.add this. I don't want to add, if there's a defend buff. All right, so defend action is gonna loop through. So this is a little bit grody. That's where I get it from. So before we add it, we want to remove any other defense buff that was there. So for each, hang on, I gotta think here. Defender.effects any. We gotta import link. Using system.link. We're gonna go find and see if the player already has a defend buff, and we're gonna replace it if they do. Any So if any of the effects, E is defend buff. All right, so if any of them are defend buff, so we're gonna say if any of them are defend buff, we need to like get the first one. So first, or this is interesting. Where? All right, so we're gonna go through a where here like this. We're gonna do for each I combat effect in here. Defender dot effects dot remove effect. I hate this, by the way. This is super bad. What am I supposed to delete by moderator? Fanta 01. Kina. Fanta 01 and Kina RL, if you're real, I'm sorry, but we're gonna go ahead and time you out. This is why we have a bot. Oh, checks. My whole project is trying to be as pure C# as possible, and then we use Unity only to render it. So the idea here, great question. See, Checks Party asked, does your project have a lot of pure C# classes, or is it mostly mono behaviors? I haven't been using pure classes much. Yeah, so one of my biggest complaints with Unity is that you build it and you're sort of trapped in Unity if you do it. I'm trying to write a text-based adventure, right? So we're trying to write a text-based RPG adventure that happens to use Unity as the renderer and interactor. So we're using model view controller, and our model is pure C#. That's our goal. Our goal is our model is pure C#. Then we have controllers in which are mono behaviors, and renderers, which are mono behaviors. So the idea is all of the logic is built as pure C#, and then the engine on top, we happen to use Unity as a tool for rendering it, but you could potentially play it. The idea would be you could play it in like a text mode. That's the idea. So that's the goal. That's the goal. Am I meeting that goal? Not always, not always. So I have Unity things scattered throughout, but the idea is I could have two separate assemblies, one specifically for my model. So we're trying to follow model view controller. All right. Hey, Stream Elements did something useful. I'm happy about that. This we need to rethink. To do. This is pretty slow. We are looping through all effects twice. This is like O of n squared, which is pretty bad. Our effects list is probably going to be small, so it's probably not that bad thing. But consider using a hash set of iCombat effects instead of a list. So a hash would probably be better because you'd be able to check right away. So we shouldn't be able to have the same buff applied twice. So it kind of makes sense to use a hash set, but I'm going to put that in there like this. We've gone over 2 hours here. So all right, for my health, I'm going to stop here. For my health, we're going to take a quick break. I really wanted to get to where we had something on the screen, but we're not quite there. We're close. We're super close, but I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get some coffee. I'm going to get some water. I'm really thirsty. I'm out of water. Coffee, water. We're going to come back. We're going to do a stretch break. So stay tuned. Hang tight. Hang tight. Enjoy some dancing coffee cups. Enjoy some dancing coffee cups. And some sweet, sweet stream beats. And I'll be back. Oh, thank you, Muniz. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Muniz. Muniz saving me all the time. Um, Here's another. Thank you for your assistance, my friend. Have yourself some points. Have yourself some points. All right, so we're gonna do some stretching here. As always, I'm gonna encourage you. All right, so as a programmer who sits at a computer, I'm actually standing even, not sitting at a computer. If you're sitting at a computer all day, it's rough. Moon is. I'm just here to get number one. I'm just here to get number one. I think you might be number one right now. But I think there's a way to check it. Is it points? Nope. That's how I check my own points. That's okay. That's okay. You're number two. Who's number one? I wonder if it's Smab. That's okay. There's a way to check it. I just can't remember what the commands are. Hang on. Commands. There's a command to list it. But yeah, I think you get 100 points per hour is how I leaderboard. That's not leaderboard works too though. All right. Unity Coder's number one. Awesome, awesome. Smab's a little behind. That's all right. Smab was number one, but that's all right. We are gonna do some stretching here. We're gonna do some stretching here, and I'm gonna encourage everyone here. Try and join me if you can. I'm gonna encourage everyone here. Please join me for some stretches. You want to take care of your body, and when you're at a computer all day, you can really damage your body and not even realize it. I had back pain for years, and I switched to a standing desk, and it worked really nice for me overnight. Doesn't work for everyone. Standing desk sometimes hurts other people's lower backs, but we're gonna do a little bit of stretching here. So if you're in a place that you're able to, I'm going to encourage you all to stand up and stretch with me. We're going to do a little bit of side stretches like this. So we're going to start off going up and to the right. All right, so we're going to go up and to the right. We're going to stretch that 10 seconds. And then we're going to go up and to the left here in a moment. And if you're at work, get your coworkers to do it with you. Be the person that helps them be healthy. All right, now we're going to go up into the left. Right. I think my camera's backwards a little bit. Oh. Yeah, I stand on a little platform. It doesn't move or anything, but it really helps. All right, and then we're gonna go to the down and to the right. Down and to the right. Get a nice stretch in there. Ooh, yeah. It's this great lower back stretch right here. Right, down and to the right. Go down and to the left. Really try and stretch something out there. Don't hurt yourself stretching. Don't hurt yourself. You feel some pain. All right. And take a deep breath. Reach up as high as you can. Get up on your tippy toes. Reach up. Hold that. And then we're going to come down in a minute here. Get a nice stretch in. And then reach down, see if you can touch your toes. You might not be able to touch your toes. I can't quite touch my toes right now. Nice little stretch in. And then we're going to get back to work in a moment. All right, roll up. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Get those little stretches in. It's good for you. It's good for your body. It's good for your soul. Okay. All right. Just a nice little stretch. Get that blood flowing. Try and take care of yourself a little bit. I highly recommend stretching at least every 2 hours if you can remember to do so. All right. So we're going to hop back over here to our code. Thank you for bearing with me. If you were here for this, I appreciate it. Go and give everyone who's here some points for hanging out with me during my stretches. I know it's not the most fun thing to watch, but I hope it helps you. All right, so we have this defend action, which should boost our defense. It's going to be a little hard to see in our scene right now. All right, so we're going to wire up our defend button. One of the things, let's see. So-and-so defends themselves. Radar, great question. Radar asks, why Don't you use Visual Studio instead of Visual Studio Code? That's an excellent question. The main reason I use Visual Studio Code is because I teach a class. I teach students, I teach remotely. It's a bring your own device school that I work at. So students bring their own computers. And so I have a variety of students. Some have Windows, some have Mac, some have Linux. They have different systems. And I teach a bunch of different programming languages as well. And I like to have one tool that I know pretty well that I can support all of them with. So the main reason is that I want to be proficient in one tool so that way I can help students across the board. That said, Visual Studio, I think, has some really, really nice features for developing C# code, specifically with Unity, that VS Code does lack. It does lack it. But if I don't want to have to support multiple different editors in my classes. That is why I learned that's why I'm doing Visual Studio Code, is so I can learn. Yeah. It tends to work better on low. Yeah. So I will say Visual Studio is a beefy program as well. It eats up a lot of resources. But I will say I've used Visual Studio and it has a lot of great features and profilers. And so if you're going to go into like industry, Visual Studio, if you're on Windows, is probably the best tool. Maybe not the best tool. It is a really good option. Writer's another option, but that one's paid. The other thing is Visual Studio, I think technically is paid. There's a community edition, but there's also sort of like they lure you into the paid features. So there's part of me that doesn't like that, but I also understand that it exists for a reason. VS Code is pretty good for low spec machines. Honestly, I'm a crazy person. If I wasn't teaching, if I was doing this just for myself, I'd probably be working in Emacs because I'm a crazy person. All right, so let's wire this up so that our defend button actually produces a defend action. So this is because the duration. So another option would be to reset the duration, Moonness. I've taken the stance that you can't have the same buff twice. All right, so we don't want someone to, let's say you have like a spell called Skin Like Wood. All right, you can't cast that spell on yourself 3 times. So let's say Skin Like Wood has a duration of 5. You could cast it 5 times before it would get into a cycle. I've taken the stance that all it does is it replaces itself if you get that effect again. And so I feel like I should probably in my iCombatant have a method called add ability or apply ability, which sort of has this built into it. So that's why I have this to do here. There's a smell here because it's like I'm gonna have to be copy and pasting this code all over the place to get it right. I hope that answered your question, Moonness. Let's wire this up. Hey, more of a VI person. I know, I used Vim for a long time. And then Emacs sucked me in. Emacs sucked me in with all of its features. The Working Man, good morning, my friend. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. It's so nice to see you. So nice to see you. How's your game going? Working Man's making a space game. It might. So Moon is it might have a duration longer than 1 turn. Right now it has a duration of 1. Right now it has a duration of 1. But we're gonna, for now, it might have a duration of 2. I'm not sure. It might have a lingering effect, right? So when we defend, part of my thought is, you know, you're guarding yourself. You're gonna like defend to take action, and so you're sort of checking the lay of the land. Working Man, I'm so sorry. Let's do this thing. VIP, the Working Man. Unban. Let's give you VIP, the Working Man. There you go. You should have, you're immune now, I think, to many of the things that Stream Elements tries to block. Sorry about that. I happened to get Leonardo. I got Leonardo AI access today, which was cool. Yeah, the my stream elements actually stopped some spam bots earlier, so I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I had it. I just got access. It looks good. It looks good. And I did a little bit. I'll show it on stream in a little bit. But I did a compare of it generating buttons versus Dolly, and it generates way better buttons. They're not exactly what I would want, but they're good concept stuff. All right, so we're gonna make this defend button attached. Oh, no need to apologize, Muniz. It's something that I also was going like, I don't know how I feel about it. But yeah, it might be a defend buff. It also could be someone else could apply the defense buff on you or something along those lines, and you just don't want it twice. Really, it should have a top level thing. All right, so defend, this means in our player controller, in our combat controller. Our combat controller, player defend. Oh, we already have defend set up, so defend will actually work. I think it'll create. All right, let's make a beefier monster. That what we want to do? Make a beefier monster, or we can make. Oh, I actually think this is all sort of in here. I want to go to my attack. Right here, I'm gonna make my log display. My defense amount, just so I can see it working. Give myself confidence that it's working. All right. Defender defense. All right, we're gonna add it to our comment like this so we can see it. Check it out here. And no, we got a null pointer exception. Where? Line 32. Player.effects. Interesting. Oh, effects must be null. Effects must be null. Ah. Well, I think what's happening is the way Unity deserializes things is wacky. All right, so in a normal C# program, this would be fine. So let's go to our, one thing to notice here. Yeah, one thing to notice here. The enemy was fine. It was happy to clear the enemy one, and that's because the anyone got constructed normally. The enemy got constructed normally. The player's effects did not get constructed normally. So, this is a not, I'm gonna go, I don't like saying pro tip because it implies I'm a pro, but we're gonna go with a not so pro tip here. Or let's go with a Unity fun fact. Unity fun fact. So I have my player character, and you would assume that effects, check it out, you would assume that effects could never be null because it only has a get here and it always says new. So like part of me is like, well, this should never be null. This thing should never be null. That's crazy. How is it even null? Well, the way Unity is doing a deserialization of my player is using, so on my player controller, I'm saying that I want it to load this character from storage. So this is like the player character. When I come into the scene, load this character from the player information. And when we do that, it uses Unity's serialization. And Unity's serialization doesn't call a constructor. It never calls a constructor. And therefore, we never get initialized. And you might ask yourself, well, how do you construct an object if you don't use a constructor? All right. How do we construct an object? How does one construct without a constructor? And basically what's happening, so this is like a not so pro tip here, is Unity is never calling this constructor, and instead it is using, I'm 90% using bytecode injection to do it. So what we have to do is in this initialized serialized fields, and it's not even serialized, we got to do effects equals new. I'm pretty sure this will solve that null reference exception. Is that the constructor's never getting called, so therefore the default initializers never happen for our player character. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. So the difference with our enemy actually got constructed, like the normal way. There you go. Crazy. This was such a thing that blew my mind. If you were like going, well, why the heck is this null? It should never be null. Well, there you go. There you go. Somehow I have -1 health. Oh, my character got saved because I fleed. Attacks the Dark Knight. Dodges. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't deal damage. That's why. We should be able to see the defender had 0 defense. The Dark Knight attacks. Hang on, just to make things clear here. Let's go to my iCombat, and I want to be able to see this. We're gonna say that other.name is the defender, and that's their defense. I'm just gonna make sure it always puts this out so we can see it happening. So I believe that if we do defend, oh, and our tick's never happening actually. So this won't last very long. There is a bug. There is a bug. Or I haven't finished implementing, so not bug, but there's a problem. All right, so the defender had 0. The Dark Knight attacks. Chica has 0 defense. And then if I click defend, my defense goes up to 5. So my defend ability is getting added, but it's never coming off. All right, so it doesn't come off. So we don't have like a tick value yet. The bumps, yeah, working man, that's exactly right. The bumps are actually where you learn stuff. You actually learn something with the bumps. You're not learning anything if it's just smooth sailing. This is why tutorials often fail. In a lot of ways, tutorials fail because you don't get the bumps. You just copy and paste code from the tutorial in, and then the hardest, this is why this is sort of like my difference between a tutorial and a project. A project doesn't give you 100% of everything you're supposed to do. A tutorial gives you everything you're supposed to do, and then a project or a challenge has you apply it. In the future, we can avoid tutorials and copy-paste AI-generated code. That's right. That's right. Okay, so our defend action and our combat manager. All right, our combat manager. Combat manager. We sort of need a tick on our combat manager. So each round, we need to tick start next round. So when we actually perform an action, here we sort of want this idea of a tick. So my iCombatant, they want a high level tick on our iCombatant as well. Which sort of applies all of the combat rounds stuff to them. So I'm going to create a public virtual. I'm not sure it wants to be a combat result, but we kind of want some information about it. So it might be a combat result. We'll go with combat result for now. Tick. All right. And the default tick. All right, so we'll do combat results. Result equals new. Get a new result, and then at the end we're going to return it. Yeah, this is interesting. I need to go ahead and tick all of my effects. All right, so I should do a for each iCombat effect in effect and effect dot tick, and I think so. The tick should be on this the combatant that we're doing it, but I also think it needs to take in a result to be able to have information and provide information about what happened. All right, so our tick here should also take in a combat result. Okay. Combat result. Our duration goes down. One thing I'm realizing is our duration, if our duration is 0, we want to remove it from this iCombatant. All right, so if duration somehow is less than or equal to 0, put that in there as a safety. And we might want to put like an assertion that says like assert that duration is not below 0. If duration is 0, to apply to, and to apply to is horrible, dot effects dot remove this. So if we reach 0 on our tick, if our duration is over, we remove it. Okay. I'm gonna rename this just to combatant. And you can finally make a Tetris game. Part of me feels like we also want to, so our combat result, we need to add the result of like the effect ended, right? So in this case, it'd be like so-and-so stops defending. And so part of me thinks that like if we add into, one thing I could do is I could make it part of the subclasses tick, the implementations tick, to override how it works. I could also, when an effect ends, I kind of want to specify. For now I'll do this, results dot add, and we're gonna clean this up. Yeah, it's a result after our AOC. That's right, G. That's right, G. G, how are you doing, my friend? It's nice to see you in chat. How's your leg? We'll just call it the name ends. All right, do name ends for now, but we should have some kind of function that's gonna. So we'll do a public string on end. Get like this. That's what we'll do. And this will just add the on end here. And so this will force me my defend buff to say when this thing ends, when they're done, it's going to be that the so-and-so stops defending. This needs the combatant that it's on. So we can't quite do it that way. It needs to... We got too many things open here. This should be a method that accepts something. iCombatant. On end message. Batant. Like that. And our defend, we're gonna say that our, get rid of that here. Our on end message. Please implement for me. Don't make me copy and paste that. All right, we're gonna put that in here. When it ends, this is just gonna be combatant.name stops defending. So when it's over, it'll say they stop defending. All right, let's try this. On end. All right, so this would be on end message with our combatant. All right, so when it ends, it does this. And one thing I'm realizing is like there's some massaging that needs to happen here. I'm like thinking about, well, if something causes this effect to get dispelled, we still want to do it. So we can still get the on end message that way. But this is like, I'm realizing like we need a method that lets us like remove a thing. Yeah, so because I'm noticing even in our defend action, it like removes it, loops through, does some stuff. It feels a little bit over the place. So we're designing a thing, and I'm gonna have to massage this a little bit. I'm not liking my code. It's smelly. We got some smelly code. It's not tasty code. We got a code smell. It's not a copy and paste code smell. It's just like a bad design smell. Duration is how much longer that buff is going to last. So it's gonna be, so like if you have a buff that's like a, you know, skin like wood spell, the duration might be 5 rounds. So this is the number of rounds that this effect lasts. For defend, it lasts 1 round by default. Good question. Good question. All right. So now in our combat manager, we sort of need to tick like this. All right. So every one of our elements, we do have that. We do have that. Check it out. Check it out. Our eye combat effect has a tick, and this has happened. So if you want it to apply an effect every round, you're going to actually just extend this functionality for tick. So it's called tick rather than on tick. So C# convention would be that you want to be, yeah, exactly. And this on end, the name of this is not following C# conventions. If it has the word on it, it should be an event, and it's not an event. So this should just be, really, this should be end message. If I'm following C# conventions, it'd be end message. Yeah. So now in our combat manager, before the action occurs, Core, my friend, welcome back. Welcome back. It's nice to see you. How's everything going for you? How's everything going for you? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Apparently I'm going to repeat myself twice every time I say something. How's your internship going? You've been grinding away. Is it going well? How long is it? An ongoing internship, or is it a set period? All right. So the tick happens. Does it help? I don't know. I think my brain just is trying to catch up. Like, I want to respond. And so, like, it's firing, and you need to respond, and it's firing over and over, and by the time, you know, reality catches up. The question is, where should this tick happen, right? So, I think the tick happened right before the player's turn. So when we go to start the next round, whoever is next should tick before the start of the next round. Either that or right before the action occurs. So let's see. Let's experiment with this a little bit. Rentaxor. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Let me know. Rentaxor asks, "Is this Diablo 4?" No, I am not that talented. You might call this Diablo -7, something along those lines. If the bigger the number is the better the game, then this is going to be Diablo -7, maybe even -10. Good question. Let's try it here. So our acting. Action, perform action. Yeah, so we're going to try it here before we perform the action. This is who's acting. Okay. And we're going to do acting.tick. This is going to get us a combat result. And so we need to do an onChange.invoke our tick here. combat result, tick result. Probably don't need to do it this far. Anything's better than Diablo Immoral? Did you intentionally spell it incorrectly? The Immoral Diablo. I feel like that could have been intentional, and I just want to understand that one's somewhat immoral. Someone call for me. Someone call for me. All right, let's try this. Let's try this. So we're gonna have defend last one round. Ooh, it does print out a blank there. I don't like that. I don't like that. But we're gonna defend. Chica the Zork defends himself, and then they attack. So if I click attack, something happened. Oh, it's trying to remove itself from the list. It's trying to remove itself from the list. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So we can't remove it from the list. It sort of needs to mark itself for removal. All right, so this error I'm getting is telling me collection was modified, enumeration option may not execute. So you can't modify them. Have a list here. All right, just so you guys can understand what's happening. Let's go to this error. I'm looping over a list of effects calling tick. The tick method is removing this effect from this list, and thus it's saying, hey, you changed me. Don't change me while you're looping through me. Don't do that. Don't do it. So one little trick I could do is say, okay, well, let's get our effects to list. Could do this. Make a copy of it first. Make a copy of it, and then we loop through it. That's one thing we could do. I'm not sure if it's the best thing to do. It's a lot of considerations here. It's amazing how complex this has become. So we defend. Defense is 5. Now if we attack, it'll say Chica the Zlurk stops defending. Okay, cool. And then Chica the Zlurk's defense is back down to 0. Okay, so one of my ideas here. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this work in progress. We can mark this as a work in progress here. The combat doesn't end, but we can defend ourselves, give ourselves 5 defense. The idea is that you're going to regenerate stamina, and stamina affects like how effective you are in combat. So defending might be, a way to get some stamina back without having to take, while reducing your chance to take damage. One thing that's interesting is going to say stop defending, then it says defends himself. I don't quite like that. But that might just be something that I have to live with. Ooh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to make all right, defend action. Real quick, just to test it out, let's give our defend a duration of 3 to see it lasting for a while. And then we're going to change it back, but I just want to test that out manually here. We're going to manually test it. We're going to defend. I don't like the white spaces it's adding in there, so we got to fix that. So we can make it last. All right. And we stopped defending ourselves. It did show it in there, so we did make it last 3 rounds. All right, so the duration is working the way we intend. And I should really write a unit test for this, but we're still sort of massaging out some of the details. Yeah, I'm sounding out some of the details. I think it's time for a commit though. We're gonna do one little thing before we hit combat log renderer. That little extra space, I don't know what I did here. That little extra space is coming here where we add a new line at the very, very end. And so what I want to do is I'm gonna say if result dot message is the empty string. We're gonna return, we're just gonna not do anything. But I think this will fix the little blank space I'm getting in there. So I only want to add things to the log if there's actual message to add. Yeah, so we got rid of that extra blank space that was happening. Cool. All right, let's get a commit in. We got to massage this a little bit. It's feels a little sketchy. Some of this feels a little sketchy, but let's do a commit. Let's go ahead, get this in here. We got a baseline for our defend button. We got a baseline for defend. Let's check out. We've made a lot of changes. Abilities. We added in, let's make sure all of our things are formatted nicely here using our formatter. Oh, that was just a format change. Apparently I didn't format that previously, so that's a little sad. Just gonna make a copy there. Our player character has that now. Apparently I didn't, this makes me mad at myself. I didn't do a format before I committed this last time. So now my format, mad at myself. I need to set that up to be like a format on save maybe. I should really have a format on save. All right, we got some white space here we'll get rid of. I don't know if the tick should happen here or here. I think I might want to have it happen here. It might make more sense to tick them at the start so you'll be able to see, oh, your buffs came off at the start of the round. In fact, let's do that right now. I actually think I like that better. Yes, I think I do. Yeah. So before we start the next round, we're actually going to say the next person. I'm going to DQ the next person. I combatant next to act. And we're going to take the next act. So you'll, this solves my problem as well as what the output looked a little bit odd to me. Let's add a new line here. Let's take a look. So you'll know that you stop defending when it's your turn. So like if you have a buff that comes off at the very start of your round, you say like, you stop shining, your strength returns to blah, blah, blah. Bring it back down. So if I were to defend here, I defend. Uh-oh. I did a DQ. This should be a peak. Daniel! Nice to see you, my friend. I love that emoji. I think that one might be my favorite emoji. Menaliki has a good emoji, too. He has the Super Meat Boy emoji. I didn't mean to DQ. I just wanted to peek. Defend. Oh, that's not what I want. Hang on, something's gone awry. Combat manager. How you doing, Daniel? Were you able to get your coding project fixed and working? We're gonna peek. Oh, I put this in the wrong spot. This needs to be a peak. Yeah, so my internet provider, I've been having trouble with my internet, so I had to do I had to restart my router. My stream was really inconsistent when I was trying to start initially, and so I had to do the streamer dance. I had to do a streamer dance to get the streamer gods to allow me to stream. Luckily, tomorrow I'm having a technician come out who's supposed to come repair all of that for me and save me from myself. So no stream tomorrow, sadly. All right, so now if I defend, the knight's gonna attack, and then it's Chica's turn, stops defending. Okay, I like that. I like that. Working Man says, unfortunately. Oh, unfortunately, gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely some unfortunate. I think I'm the saddest person though. I don't think anyone's too sad that I'm gonna be there. Not gonna be around tomorrow, but just me, mostly me. All right, let's finish trying to get this commit in. Close all of this. Man, Immortal Kid, I'm gonna miss out on my points. My points. How am I ever gonna get Doom Eternal if I'm not gonna get my points? All right, combat manager's looking pretty good now. What's this here? This little to-do. Let's add a yeah. We have a little store. To store items. There's some things you can spend the points on. You can spend your points on some stuff. There's also, if you click that link, there's some more stuff. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm not using, essentially a bunch of Humble Bundle codes that I'm not using that I'm giving it to anyone who wants to hang out with me. You know, so I'm buying friends. That's what I'm doing, Working Man. I'm buying friends. I'm bribing you to be here. Little brib. We don't want to show the defense anymore. Get rid of this extra white space. Format document. Got an extra white space there. In our enemy, we added effects. Okay. And ignore the new lines. All right, excellent. Okay, so this was our work in progress. Implement iCombat effect. Implement first draft of iCombat effect. Allows for combat effects to be added to iCombatants that modify the iCombatants abilities, traits, and defense during combat. All right, so this is actually like a buff system, so you can potentially have an item. So one of the items I think I'm going to add is sort of like a potion of, you know, a rage potion, right? So potion of rage, you drink rage, gives you the rage effect, and that boosts your strength a bunch. You know, it gives you like plus 10 strength, which will give you like plus 5 to your strength rolls, something like that. We got this commit in here. I'm pretty happy. We got about an hour left to keep working here. We have this sort of work in progress done. What was my goal today? I think it was to get the defend working. Add an iBuff interface and an iCombat with the list that are applied. Explore usables. But let's see if we can... Let's look here. What exactly... My combat manager. This feels good. This one feels good. The combatant has a tick. What are some of the things that didn't feel great? This didn't feel great. Having a list of iCombat effects. So I think what I want to do is make a hash and equals for our iCombat effects, and basically make it so that way you have a set, rather than using a list, we're gonna use a set of effects. That'll make it, you know, a little bit more, make a little bit more sense. Additionally, on our combatant, I don't want to have to write this code all over the place. If I have multiple effects, I shouldn't have to put this everywhere. We should sort of have an apply effect in our iCombatant, which sort of keeps track of adding an effect to them, which won't allow them to have the same effect multiple times. So I think I want to have a method here. All right, so we're gonna add a method. Public void add effect, iCombat effect to add. And this will just sort of ensure that you don't have the same effect multiple times. So it's gonna do this code here where it actually adds it. And then we can sort of defer. Essentially all we have to do is do defender.add effect like this. And it will take care of sort of this magic chunk here. And we're gonna have a default implementation in iCombat. And in fact, we might not even allow a subclass of this. Although you might want to, maybe you have some creature that the effect can't be added to, but it feels like that should be part of the iCombatant themselves. So this one would just be effects, effects, and effects. And it would be the to add here. So I refactored that out. So now if I want to rewrite that code, this add effect, if I end up making this a hash set, it's sort of isolated here. I'm not sure I want this to be a virtual method. Part of me feels like it shouldn't be. Let's go see if Unity complains about this. Did I have that? Shouldn't. It shouldn't. Okay. Did a refactor. This is a little scary. I don't have a test here. Should probably have a test for my defend action and for my iCombat to test these sort of default behaviors out. That way, if I did this refactor, although I'm not sure this is exactly how I want everything to work yet, but I'm getting close to wanting to write a test for these. I'm getting close enough to having enough information to actually write a test. I didn't have a specification, so today was like exploring what is my specification. Then we can add a test once we know how it's supposed to work, and then that test allows us to modify stuff without much pain. So, for example, when I switch to a hash set, my test should still work the same, but my efficiency would likely increase. All right, so move that out. So-and-so defends themselves, and then we add that buff to them. Okay. I like that better. Our defend buff feels pretty good. Our combat effect. This felt a little gnarly, but I'm not sure I can get away from this. Too far. I don't think I can get away too far from this. Because I need to be able to get some of them. So I could extract this thing. This could be a little bit of a helper. Daniel says, after the gym, I'm going to be doing a game dev stream today instead of Sunday, because on Sunday I'm celebrating 150 followers. So instead of not doing game dev stream, I'm just gonna do today. Nice, glad to hear it, glad to hear it. Congratulations on 150 followers. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. What is your game? What game are you working on, Daniel? I'm sorry if I've already asked it. I don't recall what game you're working on. No problem. I'm happy. I'm happy to do that for you. I'm going to be writing this code again for traits. I already know it. So I feel like this should be part of my dictionary extensions. So I'm going to move this in. I'm going to refactor this into my dictionary extension, this inside piece here. All right. So, anyone who's not familiar with extension methods in C#, we're going to cover extension methods real quick. I'm going to write a new extension method, and this is one of the best, in my opinion, best features of C#, one of my favorite features of C#. So I have this class called dictionary extensions. So extension methods allow you to write a static method that can be used as though it were a method on an object. So it allows you to do a little bit of extension class. So one thing I would like to be able to do, let's take a look here. One thing I would like to be able to do is in my combat effect, I would like to be able to write the following thing. I would like to be able to say dictionary, Wait, hang on. Am I right? Yeah. Sorry. Hang on. I got myself confused here. I would like to have a method. Take care, working man. Good luck at work. Have a beautiful day, my friend. You're always welcome back. I want a method that looks like this. So any dictionary that has a T. All right, so any dictionary that has a T. I don't know if I can do this the way I want. Sorry to get everyone. If you came to watch my extension method, I'm sorry. I don't know that I actually have one. So I apologize for that. I'm trying to, this loop here, I would like to fix. I was trying to get rid of this inner part, but I don't think I can. And instead, I sort of want a method that looks like this. I have a dictionary of type T. And we have a list. Yeah, I don't think I can do it the way I wanted to. So I apologize. I was trying to eliminate this loop because I'm gonna have to write the same thing here for traits. For trait modifiers, we haven't done that yet. So I sort of have my code's going to be duplicated here. So let's see if we can solve it with a duplicate code here. So I want to do it for traits. So this will be trait modifier sum. And it works a little bit different in that we loop through all of our traits. And this should be trait modifiers. And does it this way. So notice these two methods are essentially identical. The only real difference is I'm using trait here, trait modifiers here. But they're, aside from that, they're identical. And so this is a code smell. We have a copy paste code smell. We have identical code. And I need to identify how to pull out that smell into a generalized and abstracted way. So I want to write a method that looks like this. Dictionary of type T int modifier sum takes in a T like this. and it's able to have a list. So iCombat effect is sort of what we want. So we have a list, but it's not going to quite be this way. Combat effect. So if we were following the generalized version, it would look something like this. I could say, okay, well, this is going to be of type T. This is going to return modifiers at the end. Daniel, thank you very much. Welcome to Lurk Mode. Have a beautiful day, my friend. Enjoy your audiobook. Enjoy it. And this is going to be a T like this. We need a pair of T's to modifiers, but we can't do trait. We don't know which thing to get here. So one way we could do it would be to write say this thing takes in a function. Really, this thing needs to take in give an iCombat effect, needs a function that goes from iCombat effect. Should be a func that goes from iCombat effect to T. And this is like our getter. Getter. This is a bad name, by the way. This is a system.func. All right, so we have this here. And now our getter, we should use our getter on the effect. And that's going to get us back. Oh, this actually gets us back a dictionary of T to int. Okay. It's a little bit awkward. I'm not sure I like it best. But we should now be able to rewrite our trait modifier sum is actually the same as calling modifier sum with the list that's coming in, but our method becomes e.trait modifiers like this. All right, so we reuse this code here. I'm gonna make this private. This is why I was thinking I could build some kind of extension method, because I might want to do this multiple times. And my ability modifier sum becomes a modifier. Hang on. Modifier sum. Again on our effects. And then our E happens to be our, go away you, why are you stuck on my screen? All right, E dot ability modifiers. All right, so we can generalize that out. And I deleted too much. So we can generalize these two things by essentially creating a getter for them. It says, oh, okay, well, given the list of effects, we have our modifier that does that. So now we have a generic version for summing dictionaries. And let me think here. Part of me feels like we can do a little bit better. Here. I do think I want to make it so a dictionary has sort of, if you happen to have a dictionary of type T's with ints, it's really a list of dictionaries of type T's to ints. Yeah, so if you have a dictionary, okay, so here's the generic function. So we have a private static dictionary of T int. And we want, so this is essentially a histogram. So you have like keys and then like a sum of those keys. So we're gonna do a sum here. All right, so we should be able to sum up a list, this is what it is. A list of dictionaries of type T int. And it's going to be like a two-sum. Like this. Okay. And now we don't need this getter. We're gonna force that getter to happen elsewhere. So we no longer have the effect. All right. And instead we have this thing here that says for each dictionary in this list, in our two-sum, we're just going to take that dictionary, pull out all of the values. Let's do a rename here. Pairs. This is the generic on it. So given a list of dictionaries, we can sort of compress them down to a histogram that has the sum of all of them together. And so it's really like a sum histogram. And so this is an extension method for our lists. All right, so this would be an extension method for list. Let's see if we can do that. Let's go to list extensions. And this would be here. This would be a public static this. And so now if you have a list of dictionaries of type T to int, you can sum those things together. Okay, I think I like that. And in our common effect here, so our trait modifier sum is going to become the following. E.trait modifiers. We need to convert our effects list to a dictionary of that type, right? And so we're not doing a modifier sum anymore. Comment these out. I can do the following. I can say, okay, well, I'm going to do E dot trait modifier sum. We have a list of effects. Effects dot select. We're going to say, well, select out of this E dot trait modifiers. And then we're going to do a sum histogram. Sum histogram. And I should be, what is that what I called it? Sum histogram. We got to add in here that we're using adventure quest dot utils. Can I not sum histogram? Oh, it's not a list here anymore. Can I make this an I enumerable? There we go. So now we have a sum histogram. So anything that can get turned into that type of thing. All right, so this now becomes effects.select e.ability modifiers.sum histogram. Okay. All right, so we generalized it. We generalized it. If we have a list of something that can be turned into a histogram, we can take a bunch of histograms and sort of essentially aggregate them together. So we're going to sum histogram. Okay. We can do it with any enumerable, not just list. So I think I want to create a new IEnumerable extensions. We're going to move that into IEnumerable extensions. We'll sort of copy this. Enumerable extensions. Okay, let's see how sad we are. Compile. Called ambiguous because my list extensions also has it. All right, let's drop that. So C# has extension methods which allow us to define a static method, use some special syntax to say, I want you to be able to treat this, use the this keyword. Use the this keyword to say, on this static method, we can use it like a non-static method. So it becomes what's called syntactic sugar. Oops, wrong button. Let's open up our combat effect here. I can use it as a non-static method. So as a regular method, if the element, if the expression on the left, so in this case, let's scroll over a little bit so we can see it. The expression on the left matches this argument here, this. So it says treat this as a non-static method. I can also call it directly as a static method. All right, so now I can abstract that away, and it's generalized. I have a sum histogram, which works on arbitrary lists that go from a type to an int. So we have these histograms. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. I should be able to reuse that as well. Okay, I'm happy. I hope you're happy. Let's look. What else we got? We got 40 minutes left. Got 40 minutes left. Let's see what else we can do here for cleaning this up. Let's see if we can switch this to a hash set. All right. So currently we're using a list of effects. A hash set, or a set in mathematics, a set is something, it kind of acts like a list, but you can only have one copy of a thing inside of it. We don't care about, with a set you care whether or not something exists in it or does not exist in it. And so we're going to change this to a set. And so we're going to make this a hash set of combat effects rather than a list. And so it'll force up that you can't have two effects that essentially count as equal to each other. Yeah. So we're going to go into our width modifiers. And this is now going to take in a hash set. And so for the most part, it should work the same way. And it's going to take a hash set. So we'll take a hash set as well. Close all of these things. Open up iCombatant here. All right. Total defense bonus. It's going to take in a hash set as well. Okay. Daniel asks, I'm not sure what you did. I'm not sure what you're referring to, so there might be a little bit of a delay there, so I apologize. If you'd like me to go over something, feel free to clarify the question. So I apologize that I don't understand the question. Or I don't even know if that's a question. It's just stating that you're not sure what I did. If you'd like to ask a question so I can go over something, feel free to do so. But I'm switching this was a list. Now it's going to be a hash set. All right. So now I don't actually have to check if the buff is there. I can actually say the following. I can say if oh, this whole thing is broken anyway. But we're going to say if our effects dot contains to add, we are going to replace it. Okay, so we're going to do effects dot remove to add, and then it's going to add the new one. I know this seems a little bit weird, but the idea is that the equals of a combat effect is going to be based on how these effects can stack together. So if we already have that effect, we're going to replace it with the new effect. So I'm curious whether or not if I did add it would replace it by default or ignore it. It's a good, I don't know. I don't know what the behavior is. To do, consider looking at what happens if we do effects.add to add when something already exists. Does it cause it to replace what's in the set? If so, no need to perform this check. Right, so I'm really curious about that, whether or not we need to perform this check and remove it and add a new one. The one thing to note is this check is faster than doing a loop over the whole list. Sets have a quick lookup time. Daniel is referring to what I was doing earlier. I think you're referring to the extension that I wrote. This histogram part. All right. So I had some code where this was copy and pasted for two different types. So I had an ability and a trait type where I want to get, given a list of abilities and traits, I want to get the total sum of those things together. So like all of the effects, say you have like 5 buffs on, I want to know how those buffs added together affect your ability scores. And so I had a method specifically for ability scores that looped through a list of effects and added all of the ability modifiers together. And then I wanted to do the same thing for another type called trait. And so that was not a, so I had this code sort of copy and pasted twice. I generalized this code here to be generic. So I'm using what's called a generic type. I generalized it so that it'll work for any list of what's called a histogram. So a histogram allows us to sort of look at how often something shows up somewhere. It's not quite a histogram. So maybe histogram's not the right. I'm gonna leave it some histogram. I need a better name. Some histogram's not quite right. Maybe I just do it some, but that's a little bit scary there. Some dictionary. I'm gonna leave it as some histogram for now. Can't quite. So histogram's not right because that's sort of like an analysis of it. Anyway, so I was writing this extension method that to replace some code that was copy and pasted that was this code twice. I had this code twice with T1. In one of the spots it was ability and the other one it was trait, but we could sort of do it generalized here. Good. So I apologize if that's confusing, but I hope that's maybe a little bit helpful. All right, so I need to explore this. I'm not sure we actually need to remove it and then add it in this way. Could write a little test to figure out how that works. Alternatively, a combat effect could have like a refresh or something that can be added to it. But to make this work the way I want, my iCombat effect needs to implement a hash code and equals that says basically all defend buffs are the same, right? So in this case, your equal. Can we generate equal and get hash code? All right, and essentially, my equal says if you're a defend buff, you match. So all defend buffs are considered equals in the eyes of a set. And our hash code is interesting. It shouldn't be based off duration already or anything like that. Our hash code is going to be, I think I'm just going to make it be off of name of defend buff, like that. So our hash codes, if you're a defend buff, your hash code's going to match. That's how we look you up. So we're going to say your equals if you are a defend buff, and your hash code is based off the class. I don't even think we need to do it combined there. There's no combination that's happening. Get hash code. We're not going to do it on the string, so we don't want. Yeah. Dot. We're going to leave it like that. Okay. So now all defend buffs are equal. We don't care about the duration. We don't care about the defensive bonus. We just care that it is a defend buff. So if you had a better defend buff, let's say you had, like a level 2 defend buff, you can't have both a level 1 and a level 2 defend buff. All right, Daniel, welcome to lurk mode. Welcome to lurk mode. Okay. So I'm happy with that refactor as well. So I've eliminated a lot of the smells. Let's look at the combat manager. There was one little thing here of the combatant should have like an initialize method, and then there's also this gnarly if statement that I don't like. But let's go ahead and do a commit. I'm happy with these changes. I think we're in a spot where we're essentially ready to write some unit tests. No worries, G. As always, you're always welcome to lurk. I'm happy to have some lurkers, but so no pressure to be 100% present all the time. But just knowing that you're there, listening off on the side gives me I don't know what word I'm looking for here. Where's this trait? Where's our trait here? Enemy. Oh, I'm going too low. This needs to be a hash set. You're always welcome to lurk, but don't hesitate to ask questions. That's essentially how I feel. If you have questions, bring them on. All right, then our player character, same thing, needs to be a hash set. Gee, I'm here in spirit as you remember. Yeah, so that's the best part, is like I'm rambling a little bit, talking through this stuff, and you guys are my support team. Okay, can I still defend? Okay, and I can still attack. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Ooh, the knight hit me. The knight got me. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna do a commit here. I'm happy with this. I'm a happy camper with the results I've come up with here. Let's look at these refactors. We modified. Yeah, so the main refactor was this. So refactor, change icon combatant dot effects to use hash set over list. All right, so that was this change. And we have an iCombat effect, and then this is sort of, everything that had to change. Oh, look at how nice that refactored. Look at that big chunk that got moved out, abstracted away. That's nice. All right. Enemy. That one is easy. We added this extension method. Like that. Defend buff. Uh-oh. Come on. I believe in you, VS Code. You can load it. You can do it. There it goes. All right. We had to add an equals here. our defend action. That's nice. We just have like a generic add effect now. That one was an easy change there. With modifiers, yep, so we're just propagating that change, that type change throughout. Okay, there we go. That's it. Go ahead and sync those changes. Perfect, perfect, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. All right, I think I'm really quite happy with this. We've got, all right, so the next thing we really want to do is like have this eye usable. Okay, so if we look at our combat scene, here, we can attack, we can defend, we can flee. These are things that we can do that modify things. One thing to consider is like when we attack, how does that affect our stamina? I'm not 100% sure yet. But defending makes it harder to hit us. And so I think, we'll regenerate stamina each round. When you defend, you're able to regenerate stamina a little bit more easily, unless your enemy's just like wailing on you. But we want to make this inventory give us the ability to do something. All right, so the inventory, we're going to need eye usable. So this idea of you can use items in combat and they'll apply effects to you. And we have like this buff thing now where we can implement potions or something that will heal you. So in addition to just like being able to heal you, they can apply an effect to you. So I know that I'm going to want an eye usable, which is like a subclass of item, or implement, it's not a subclass, it's a, items can be eye usable. So if we come over to our equipment, oh, not equipment, where is it? The shop? Oh, I'm in controllers, that's what it was. Model. And I believe it's in, nope, not in equip, oh, character, combat, entity, equipment. Yeah, so we have this idea of an eye item. And we need to have a use on an item. So we're going to do a new file. We're going to call it an eye usable. So this is an item that can be used and it has an effect. So namespace, it's going to be in our adventure quest, adventurequest.equipment. And it's going to be a public interface usable, and it's going to extend item. It's going to get everything that an item has. Basically, everything that an item has an eye usable also has to have a name, a sprite ID, some descriptions, a cost. It needs to know how to duplicate itself. But the one thing that we're adding to an eye item is that it has like a use effect. So a couple things about this is, should a usable have a number of sort of charges, how many times it can be used? And also maybe it can have an infinite number of charges. It's a question that must be asked. Corpless, that's fine. It's fine to be a lurker. You just realized it, but I'm happy to have some lurkers in here. It means that at a moment's notice, if I'm calling for help, if I call for help, someone might pop in and give me some help. All right, so an eye item that is usable. The main thing that a usable has, though, is a public void, maybe not even a void. It sort of has like a use result. It's going to have like a result of say so-and-so used such and such a thing. So in combat, you'd have to have like a message associated with it. So it might need a combat result, but now I'm thinking, well, might need more of a generic result that's not related to combat. But really, it's going to have a use method. And we want to say, well, who are you using it on? Right? So part of me feels like maybe this needs to be like an eye combat usable. because you need a target, right? It's not necessarily a character, but it feels like an I. So at this point, we have this idea of, well, who's the target? We almost need like an entity class, something that can be targeted, something that has traits at the very least, but has something that can like have effects applied to them. For now, I'm gonna put here that we need an iCombatant. And I don't know how I feel about that. The reason I want an iCombatant here is this allows me to add combat effects to something. And so this is why this is the explore. We're in sort of an exploration phase here. But there's also this thing like maybe you have like a bomb or a throwing dagger. When you use it, it like throws it. I'm not sure. So when you use that, you might have to have like a second one that's like, you know, user and target use on. So we might also have a public void use on, which has like the user and target. So I'm just airing out some thoughts here. Yeah, so this is interesting because some things might be usable. Instead of being able to use on, it might actually be like a projectile, or you might have like a targeted use to consider. And actually, maybe I just have a use that has a user and a target. And if you're using it on yourself, you are the target. Let's start with just being able to use things on yourself. All right, we're gonna start with just being able to use things on yourself, user. Right, and so this gives me the idea of like if I wanted to have a health potion, right? So the goal here is like I want to add in a health potion. So how would I do that? Have this iUsable. Let me add in a new folder here. We're gonna call this one potion. I'm gonna add in a potion here. We're gonna do new file. We're gonna create a health potion. And this is gonna be an iUsable. This one's gonna be an implementation of the iUsable. So I'm gonna have to implement all of the things that it requires. So I have to give it a name, a cost, all that good stuff. iUsable has all of these things. We have a contract. I don't know what my sprite is yet. We'll come up with it, but the name is gonna be health potion. And let's generate a description. This is a good chance. Let's go over to our playground. All right. Write a 2-sentence description for a health potion in a fantasy-based RPG. There we go. Health potion is a magical concoction that can restore a character's vitality and energy, bringing them back to full health. That seems restoring some of their health. There we go. We're gonna say vitality. Okay, that's what our health potion description is. Boom. Cost, we're gonna say a health potion costs 5 gold. As JSON, this is interesting. I gotta remember how to do this. I think ooh, this is interesting. How did I do it for
Let's take a look here. 'Cause clearly my equipment has it. My weapon. How did I do weapon? I had to write a custom. And so in our parent class equipable, we had a list as JSON is JSON to JSON. I think all we really are going to need to do here is utility unity engine dot utility JSON utility dot to JSON. This. I think that's all we need to do. Duplicating is just to get a new health potion. Just copies it. And because what happens is that when our character JSONs this, it like stores the underlying class. Because our item is JSONable. And since it's JSONable, yeah, this is interesting. Our special class, our JSON serializer stores the class information with it. So I think we're safe here. Our to JSON is like, hey, it's gonna be an empty, it's just gonna be like an open and closed curly brace. There's nothing special for it. Though, we use it. It's gonna be user.traits. Get trait dot health dot value plus equals 6. We can so a health potion is going to restore 6 hit points or 10 hit points, something like that. Maybe it could be like a random amount, 1d something, maybe 1d6. I'm not sure, but using it as this, and this is what I'm saying, well, the combat log, we almost need a combat result. When we use this, we almost need to have a combat result passed in so that we can add the dialogue necessary for using it. But maybe we just have this return a string, and the string is the description of this. So let's start with that, a string. So the string is going to be that's not what I want. Yeah, this is right, string. And then I got to get Unity to compile this for us. In a moment, that should clear up. Oh, it's saying now it's saying I just don't return anything. So this one should say return user.name drinks a health potion and restores amount health. All right, so then we'll roll for it. And let's create an ability roll up here. So private static, it's not even an ability roll, it's just a regular roll. Private static iRollable. Private static. Let's make this thing a little happier. Private static iRollable roll. Like that. Should be, it's a static, so it should start with S underscore for following conventions. Using adventurequest.dice. Maybe it should be ability roll. And we're going to go with a dice pool.parse. I'm going to say 1d6 plus 4. So you're guaranteed to, plus 3. You're guaranteed to heal 4 hit points. So it's going to be 4 to 9. 4 to 9 hit points. Let's go with 4. Be 5 to 10 hit points. All right. And we're going to make int amount. It's going to be equal to our sroll.roll. And we'll increase this by amount, and we'll say it restores amount health. Okay, so that's our use. And yeah. So then we would need to add some stuff in the menu here. For now, I'm gonna make the inventory button drink a health potion. There's some other things we need to do remove from inventory. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I think. Instead, the interaction of like selecting it from the inventory might actually be the thing that removes it. I'm not sure exactly where to put that code. Using it, I don't think necessarily means that it gets removed from your inventory, because you might have like a staff of healing, something like that. This is why I was thinking, well, there might be some amount of charges associated with it. And if one user, we don't know if it's actually in their inventory when it's getting used. So there's like that danger of how do we do it that way. So it's almost like we need a use from inventory method that's on a user's inventory manifest. But for now, we have just over 10 minutes left. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can just make my inventory button use a health potion. We can get that result onto our combat log. So this is going to be in our combat controller. And I'm just going to write a hacky thing here that says player use health potion, which is not really what we want. I hate it here. B-Dog Show says, I just accidentally spammed my own email with a Python script I wrote. I hate it here. I hope you're not saying that you hate it in this stream here. I hope that's not what you're saying. But that sounds frustrating. I'm sorry you just spammed your own email. I didn't think you were. All right, so then in our player agent, we're gonna have a Python's frustrating. That's rough. Programming can be frustrating. Programming can be really, really frustrating. Player agent, and then I'm gonna add another hacky thing here. Use health potion, like this. And so let's go to our player agent. Ooh, gee, that's a good point. Big Dog Show, that's a good point, G. It's better than spamming someone else's email address, because then you're just a jerk, all right? All right, so let's go to our player agent. And our player agent's gonna need this method, use health potion. Use health potion. And so we're gonna need a use item action. That makes sense. A little bit better, because our iUsable has like a use. Yeah, but we need a use action in combat. All right, so in combat, let's create a folder called actions, action. I'm gonna add it there. We're gonna do a refactor, move everything in there. I think at some point we're getting a little bit too much stuff in our hierarchy. And we're gonna have a use item action. Okay, and it's gonna be a lot like this. Use item action is a combat action in which we are specifying the user, the target, and the iUsable. All right, so we're gonna have to clear these things out real quick, but we're gonna have a perform action that we're gonna get to in a moment. My guess is no, technically it's not ethical. Oh, you're right. So G, I agree with G. It is ethical to learn how to write it. It is unethical to use it, right? So that's like asking, the question, is it okay if I punch someone because there's someone who punches someone else? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's necessarily just a just thing to do. It might feel right, might feel good, but my personal feeling is like someone who goes around punching someone is not a good person. What is it? An eye for an eye does, if an eye for an eye type thing does not make the world just. You just end up with a bunch of one-eyed people. Everyone's blind essentially. What is it? An eye for an eye results in a world full of blind. All right, so we need to keep track of our user, our target, and our item. User, target, and our iUsable item. I don't even know if that needs to be public here, but performing this action, return null for now. All right, so user equals user, target equals target, item equals item. All right, so when we perform this action, and I might end up writing use item from inventory action or something along that. But essentially the result is going to be that our item gets used on target like this, and then our combat result is going to have the message result dot message no, not message, result dot add the message that our item produces. Yeah. But you might want to add something in there. Well, we're going to use that for now, and then we're going to return the result like this. So we're going to have a use item action. All right. The using health potion on the player agent for now is going to be a new use item action. Our players, our player, is using it on a player, and it's going to be a new health potion. Just to see it in there. No, that's not what I want. Why can't using adventure quest.equipment? All right. So using health potions going to have our player use a health potion on themselves. We'll end up with like an inventory action that gets created for every item in the inventory. When they click on a button in the inventory, it's going to like generate the use item action. Okay. How do we do? All right, so we got to attach our inventory button. We're going to attach our inventory button to our combat controller, and then we're just going to say player use health potion. Let's give it a shot. We kind of got to wait till we take damage. Oh good, we got hit and we crash. Could not parse this as a dice set. Oh, that makes sense. This does need to be an ability roll. Oh, that's interesting. Do it as a dice ability. Ooh, I need to update my code there. All right, let's make this an ability roll. Isn't that part of dice? Oh, it's part of character.dice. We'll parse that in, and then when we roll, we take in the user. Okay. Let's give that a shot. All right, so we're about to have our inventory button's not really connected, right? We're just testing some stuff out here. All right, we did take a little bit of damage. We stored 6 health, but then we took 3. So what's interesting is my health, it reached my health maximum. There we go. So we can drink potion now. Let's see if we can get hit some more. But our inventory button right now just drinks a health potion. It applies the effects. All right, cool. So we can write a potion. That's not gonna be too hard. The next thing we gotta do is say, when we click the inventory button, we need to sort of like open our inventory, see what's in there. And there's gonna be some code that we have to do that says when we use this action, it's gonna be like a use from inventory action that will end up consuming it out of the inventory as well. Okay. All right, I'm pretty happy with this work in progress that we've done here. We got a little bit of time left, but I do have to hop off here. I have work in about 45 minutes. Let's take a quick look here. Get this commit in, and we're gonna do a recap of everything we did today in our sign off. All right, got our health potion, got our player agent. Get rid of this little white space here. Yeah, so this is a WIP, this is our work in progress. WIP, what did we do here? Created, started work on iUsable and added a hacky, started work on iUsable. Includes a hacky, player hacky use of health potion in when the inventory button is clicked. Alrighty, we got that in. Let's do a recap here. Let's do a sign off. All right, so we got a sign off. We did finish this. I was really happy with that. So our sign off is added or created a iEffect interface. All right, so we're gonna say success completed 1. Created an iEffect interface which allows for adding buffs, debuffs, / ongoing effects in combat. Okay. We also added defend action, which generates a defend effect on the player when the defend button is clicked. Additionally, we also created a draft of the iUsable interface, which will hopefully work as a framework for using items from inventory in combat. All right, so we made it pretty far. That's sort of our recap for this session today. Perfect timing there. It is 9 a.m. now. It's perfect timing for what I'm doing here. 9 a.m. local, 9 a.m. Phoenix time. All right, everybody, I'm going to hop off here. We're going to find someone to raid. Want to keep it in game development, Unity development. You're welcome. Thank you for hanging out. G says thanks for the stream, but thank you for hanging out with me. This was super fun. We're gonna find someone to raid here. I'm open to suggestions, but I do want to keep it English and I think game development. Oh, let's go raid Clayman. Clayman has an awesome game. Unless anyone has someone else that would like to go to. Clayman's developing an awesome game called Epic Hero. So love what Clayman's doing. So we're gonna raid Clayman. We're gonna see how Clayman's doing. If Clayman's stream is still going, we're gonna raid him. For some reason, OBS does not like to play. If I move this to my other screen, it plays fine. OBS does not want to render the ads for us for some reason. Right, but we're gonna go raid Playman. Real quick. So thank you for hanging out. Super fun. Had a wonderful time, my friends. No stream tomorrow, but I'll be back on Friday. No stream tomorrow. Back Friday. Let me give everyone some points for making it to the end. All right. For making it to the end with me. There you go. 100 points you can use in the shop. Feel free to check it out. As always, keep coding, keep growing, keep learning, and you're welcome back anytime. Have a beautiful day.